I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Get it to work?
Are we ready, Mark? We are ready. Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. It's great to see you all here this evening, and I'm sorry we're a few minutes late getting started. So welcome to the Nampa City Council meeting. And we have our wonderful tradition here where we open in prayer, and I greatly appreciate Kelly Sears being here. Kelly, thank you for opening us in prayer this evening, and let us stand and leading the pledge. Thank you.
Scripture says everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God, and those in position of authority have been placed there by God. It also says later in that passage that authorities are placed by God for our good. And so we as a community once again say thank you so much for serving. And also I think it's appropriate for us to pray over the election tomorrow, because some will be reelected and some new ones will be elected. So let's pray. Father, we're so thankful tonight that we still live in America and in a community that is so has so much solidarity with one another, Lord. The unity in this community can be felt by all, and it is one of the best places to live. And Lord, I feel that that is because of the leadership that you have placed over us. And we are so grateful tonight. Lord, we bring the election to you tomorrow. We ask that wisdom and prayer would go into the decisions that are made, and that you would raise up those that belong in leadership to continue to do us good. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, thank you so much. You and Monty have been regular faithfuls here, so thank you. And you do not have to stay. Thank you. Okay, let's start with roll.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Bruner.
Here.
Chingula.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
All present.
Mayor Kling. Before we start, I did receive an email yesterday from an individual that said that they couldn't hear us online, so I just want to make sure everybody speaks loud into the mic.
Thank you.
And maybe, Mark, if you can do something with that's okay.
Thank you. That's always a good reminder, and
Yes.
I appreciate that. Victor, thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that. Thank you so much. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are any proposed amendments to the agenda, and it's my understanding we may have one. So,
Yes, Madam Mayor. Can we pull item 1-6-F off of the consent agenda?
thank you. Are there any other proposed amendments?
And there's just 1.8D, Mayor, that I'm in favor of the rest of the agenda other than what's been pulled, but I will not be voting in favor of 1.8D.
18D?
Correct.
Okay. D as in David.
D is in David,
Thank you.
or Darrell.
You know. That was good. Yes, that should have been Darrell. Yeah. Okay. Okay, are there any other proposed amendments? Okay, I would stand for a motion to adopt the agenda with the proposed amendments as stated.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda with the items that have been amended and made note of. I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Okay, Okay. At this time, we will move to section 2 on the agenda, and this isn't something that we do that often, but the very next item is to discuss and move into action items that was just moved from the consent agenda, which is 16F. And Tom, if you could come forward. F was an action item on the consent agenda, and this is the annual culvert replacement. And so the action is to authorize the mayor to sign a task order for the attached scope of work with Keller Associates, Inc. for the annual culvert replacement FY24 project for design services in the amount of $655,000, time and materials not to exceed. And it is a standard task order agreement approved by legal. It's approved in the FY24 budget. I believe there was a question, and I'll let, Dale, maybe I'll let you address the question on this particular item, and then Tom can answer your questions.
Hi, Tom. There was a question from a citizen, they sent us an email about the legality of the irrigation fund paying part of this because they felt like it should come out of streets instead of irrigation.
Yes, thank you for the question, Mayor and City Council. So now I'm going to give our city attorney a little time to discuss this as well, because we chatted this morning. So it's been our practice to split up culverts depending on what type of facility it is. So if it's a creek, it's 100% streets funded. If it's a drain, it's 50% irrigation, 50% streets. And if it's just a canal or lateral, that's 100% irrigation. And the reason you would consider using irrigation funds on some of these facilities is because it's the conveyance system for the irrigation. And it gets the water to our pump stations, which gets it in the pipe. So it's part of the facilities. I talked with City Attorney Lakey this morning about it, and I was asking, are we doing anything against Idaho code? We had the discussion that we don't think so. But Todd, do you want to elaborate?
Sure, Mayor and council members and Tom. So I read the email as well, and the code section that they referenced was 184308, and it relates to a change in a ditch or a lateral, and really the code really contemplates two different property owners. You have the landowner, and then you have the owner of the ditch, and it gives rights to the owner of the ditch to move that ditch on somebody else's property. And then it talks about if you do that as a landowner, you want to move that facility, you have to get their permission, and then you have to pay any costs associated with that and any extra costs associated with the operation and replacement and maintenance of that. So we're a little different here in that the city essentially owns both. You own the land, it's in the right of way. Then you also own the ditch. It's part of the city irrigation system. And I suppose if you really tried to split hairs, the code says in regard to the burying of the ditch, the right and responsibility for operation and maintenance shall remain with the owner of the ditch, canal, lateral, or drain, but the landowner shall be responsible for any increased operation and maintenance, including rehab and replacement, unless otherwise agreed in writing with the owner. So you can agree with the landowner to do something different. In this case, again, we're both. So our policy is, well, this is part of the irrigation system, but it's also in the street, and it requires some work by the street folks to get in and replace it, but it also relates to our irrigation water system and delivery. So I didn't see the violation of the code in there because we're a little different than what it contemplates. I guess I'm open to further discussion, but in this particular item, I didn't see the violation of the code.
Todd, thank you so much. I appreciate you providing clarification on it. And so my question for council is, did that answer the questions that we had regarding it? Okay. So this is an action item, and I would stand for a motion, whichever direction you choose to go.
Make a motion to approve the authorization as listed in our packet.
Thank you, and that was of 1-6F.
1-6F, yes.
Yes, to sign the task order. Thank you, Keller and Associates. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jangula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Todd, thank you very much. Appreciate your legal opinion on that. The next item on the agenda is our proclamations, and it's VF Poppy Days, right? Again. And so, Lou, as I read this proclamation, I'll let you come forward and introduce yourself, and I'll hand you these proclamations. But we'll start with the proclamation. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Affairs of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. And whereas the VF Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and veterans in need, and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Affairs is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. And whereas I urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause and support their efforts to recognize the sacrifices of our honored dead, I also urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as mute evidence of the gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms we continue to enjoy as American citizens. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, Idaho, do hereby proclaim the days of November 9, 10, and 11, 2023 as VFW Buddy Poppy Days. I'm sorry I didn't get it right the first time.
That's a tongue twister.
It is. Furthermore, I urge citizens to support the VFW and go visit them at DMB Supply in Nampa and Albertsons at 12th and Greenhurst during these days. Is that correct?
Yes.
There we go. Lou, thank you for your faithfulness, that you're always keeping this before us. Thank
Well,
you.
they tell me that I have to keep everybody in line, and I tell them I'm the boss. You do what I say or else. But I would like to introduce our commander, Don Tobias, and we have Juan, our court. Don't ask me to pronounce his last name because I don't remember. I can't say it.
We know how bad.
That's one. And then on the auxiliary side, I brought his wife, Raquel, and it's like, I've done it for so many years, and it's like, nobody knows what to do. And we do help the veterans. We go to the Veterans Hospital, and we have these little Pledge Allegiance cards, and Veterans in Crisis. We help the veterans in crisis. And who didn't get a Buddy Poppy? And the Buddy Poppies are donation only, so if you got some money, we'll take it.
Otherwise, I'm at DMB or Albertsons at 12th and Greenhurst. One of those
Albertson,
locations.
12th and Greenhurst, and DMB. We're going to try DMB this year to see what's going to happen. So,
I'll be there.
you want to say a few words, Don?
Well, just to introduce myself, my name's Don Tobias. I've lived here in this good city of ours for 37 years, and I'm going to stay here. I did serve in the military, or I wouldn't be wearing this uniform. I served 2 years in Vietnam, 8.5 years all total, 3 years in Germany, and I enjoyed it. And unfortunately, I got a steel plate back here with some screws to hold me together, so they said, no more Army for you. So here I am in Napa. I've been elected as the post commander for the past 2 years. I'm told I ain't going nowhere soon. But I've got some good help. I've got Juan here. He's our quartermaster. He does do a good job. And we'd like to thank everybody here for allowing us to come in and speak. And yes, we do Buddy Poppies, and we're doing the new DNB up here, past Greenhurst out here. I can't remember the address right now, but, and we're also doing the Walmart again, like we did last year. Thanks to this wonderful city right here, last year, we did $4,800 worth of donations. Year before, we did 6. So we slipped a little. Hopefully, we'll pick it back up this year. And all this money goes strictly for our disabled veterans and people that we can help, people passing through or veterans, or anybody that needs help, we're here for them. And I appreciate your time. I thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your work and service, and thank you for supporting the veterans. And Lou, here are your proclamations.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Except I didn't get any money, guys.
I know.
She's a tyrant, I'll tell you right now.
Unfortunately, I will be there.
At the last council meeting, I owed you from last time. We got over $100. And it really,
Lou, we have 2 business owners on the other side of the council. I'm sure they'll match up to a certain amount.
Darrell and I gave to you, that's good. Now, the guys on the other south side there, don't forget.
Those two gentlemen down there, yes.
They've got a lot of money over there.
She's a tyrant, folks, I'll tell you, she goes after it.
I hope the guys
Lou?
I hope the red shirts don't ask for a donation.
Did they get you to 100 yet? There you go, right there.
60, 80,
There you go.
90.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
120 right
guys.
there.
Oh, here's
Okay.
I'm broke now, dude.
So our next agenda.
He's a sweetheart.
They're going to be coming every council meeting here.
This is the way to do it.
How can you tell Lou no? That's
Well,
the
I
thing.
tell you what, while Lou is doing that, we have, the next item on our agenda is also honoring our military. And so tonight, in our public forum, we are going to begin with 2 special men, Weston Snyder and Jeff Hilton, that just returned from, it was both of you were in the Navy. I'll let you come up and tell us, but these are City of Nampa employees that just returned from deployment, and we are so glad to have you here. Come on forward, and yes.
Anytime that we can walk with the military, it's marvelous. Thank you, guys.
She's a sweetheart.
Good evening, and they speak right into that microphone, but we look forward to hearing from you.
I want to talk to the citizens.
You can take the mic out of the thing if you would like to. Pull it straight, there you go, you got it.
Okay, so I'm Chief Petty Officer Weston Snyder. Yes, we just got home from the Middle East, and I was in a few different sites. I was in Bahrain and hopped over to Oman for a little bit, and I'm in the Seabees. Anybody know what the Seabees are in the Navy? Okay, we're builders, and that's what we do. But anyway, yes, I'm Weston Snyder. I work up at the golf course at Centennial. I'm the assistant superintendent up there.
Thank you, Weston. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Petty Officer Jeff Hilton. I work with the Street Division. I'm very pleased to see my superintendent, Don Barr, here tonight, and my lead, Jose. Thank you for coming, guys. But yes, I'm also a CB as well, and yeah, Weston and I, we've actually been in the battalion together for quite a number of years, and yeah, I was in Bahrain for about 6 months, and then in Syria for about 30 days, working on a project up there. But I just want to say, too, the love and support that the city gave us while we were gone is bar none. We really appreciate the support that y'all gave us, just the continued support, the care packages. Thank you so much, Mayor King, for doing that, and as well as the other divisions for participating in that. It really meant a lot.
Mayor Debbie, can you come down here?
Sure. Excuse me, I have to be able to get back in. Wow.
So we're going to give Mayor Debbie this presentation that Jeff and I were at. This is actually the outline of the country we were in. We were actually stationed down here towards the bottom part. The island is 30 miles long, and it's 10 miles wide, the country of Bahrain, and there's over 1 million people in it. Gets a little crowded. But this is from Jeff and I, and we're giving it to the city. Can display it however they want, throw it away, we don't care, but it's our gift to you guys for the amazing support that we got from the city. HR was phenomenal when we came back and was just able to get right back into our jobs. So thank you.
Wow, that is a wonderful gift to the city. We will proudly display it somewhere. We'll have to decide where here in City Hall. That is beautiful. Thank you for your service. Okay, so you know what? I'll do a photo, but I would like council behind here in the next photo, and then Don Barr and Darren.
Cody,
Okay,
you too.
here we go. Cody? Yep.
Cody.
Okay, here we go. We'll do one photo here. Okay, Darren, Cody, Don. Come on. And you guys come over here. Get in it with us. Come on. Come on, guys. City Council. There we go. Thank you. This is so beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, hold still. I got. Thank you.
You're good.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. You know what? Thank you for your service. I tell you what, we're so proud of you. Thank you.
Mayor King?
Thank you.
Also, Mayor King,
Beautiful.
wherever you guys decide to post this up, just a couple things I wanted to share with you on this plaque. We had a couple coins made that we wanted to put on this plaque. One of them up here, this was our detachment coin for our debt site at Det Isa. And this other one right here, you see right there is our battalion Wave 1 coin. So we actually have another group that followed in after we left. They're the second wave, and they're taking care of business over there right now. But we wanted to attach those onto this, and thank you again.
Beautiful. Would you hand that to Peter at the back?
Absolutely.
Because I think some of the people here may want to see that before they go.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Take care. Thank you.
That's so cool. No.
You know, the best part of these meetings are times like this. And our last council meeting, we also had such a special time. Huh, Glenn? So we talked about it. You know what? It's wonderful to get to honor our community, honor our servicemen, the people that sacrifice and give their lives for us. So it's a wonderful thing. Okay, this is also the public forum time, and so do we have people signed up?
Madam Mayor, we do have one individual signed up for an agenda item they'd like to speak on, and that is Beatrix Westmoreland. Destroyed that name. Yes.
As you come forward, go ahead and give us your name again and your address.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, my name is Beatrix Westmoreland, and I live at 10051 West Smoke Ranch in Boise. I am one of the owners of the Syringa Coffee and Cocktails that we are putting in downtown, and we're here this evening to apply for our liquor license from the city. And I just wanted to give you a really quick little snapshot of our business so you know a little bit about us and what we're hoping to do with the community. We named our business the Syringa because we were hoping to choose something that was a little bit specific to Idaho, and it was between that and the baked potato, and the Syringa won. And so we're really hoping to kind of maintain a little bit of that local nostalgia. There's so many people moving here. And we're hoping to, this community's been super, super excited. We've had a ton of support throughout our building process. There's so many times that we're in our space and we can't get anything done because there's so many people passing by and poking their head in and saying, "What are you guys doing?" And they're excited. And so we've had a lot of really positive feedback and a lot of really cool excitement from the locals in the area. We will be offering cocktails, but we're also going to do coffee in the mornings as well. So we've got a little bit of a dual concept there. That'll start in the new year. We're really hoping to support a lot of programs and kind of group meetings at our space. For example, I work with Big Brother, Big Sister quite a bit, and we're going to have a recruiting event there in January. I'm also part of a women's real estate investing group that meets every month, and so we'll do meetings there, and so we're hoping to really promote some gatherings and stuff like that. We'll also have a first responder and veterans discount that we'll offer for anybody who comes in. And the last thing that we're kind of excited about is we're doing a food collaboration with Bit of Italy. Pete and his wife have been gracious enough to provide us with some kind of specialty menu items that they'll have available for us, and they'll cook on an as-needed basis, and they're going to deliver them right over, but they won't actually be on their menu, so it'll be kind of special to us. So we're hoping to see that go really well. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're hoping to build in our concept, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so on our consent agenda earlier, obviously you were approved with your license because that was on our consent agenda, but it's wonderful to hear about what you're doing. And council, do you have any questions or comments? Thank you. We're excited to have you open, and it's so wonderful to hear that you're partnering with Bit of Italy.
Yes, yeah,
they
we're
have
super
wonderful
excited.
food, and they're such a long-standing staple here in our community, so that is great. Thank you for that collaboration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else signed up this evening?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We are going to go ahead and move forward. It is 6 o'clock, and one thing that I realized that I kind of missed was that 7:14 on the agenda, we've got a whole front row of red shirts here tonight, and I'm not going to make you sit here all night just to hear your agenda item. So I'm just looking to see if there are any other ones that maybe we should move forward on, but I would like to move right now to item 7:14 on the agenda. This is an action item, and it's to authorize the mayor to sign the 2023 addendum to use agreement between the city and the Nampa Harvest Festival Association, DBA, the Snake River Stampede, to amend the 2-week usage period for the Snake River Stampede Rodeo from July to June, beginning in 2025. As you are probably aware, it has been reviewed by City Attorney Todd Lakey. And are there any comments or questions, or is there a motion?
Yeah, second, yeah.
I think there were a whole bunch of motions and a whole bunch of seconds, and I'm not sure how you're going to figure that out, Char, but I'll let you do it. That's the good news.
Do they want to speak, Mayor, and I'll say anything, or are they just?
How about if we vote, and then we'll let them speak? How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Haverfield. Yes. Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
And we would welcome a comment if someone has a comment. Or we can just say, oh, good, you get to go. Who's going to talk? Go ahead. Good evening, Jeff. And thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And Senator Lakey taught me 6 or 7 years ago to not stand between here and the jaws of defeat. So all I want to say is thank you. We appreciate your support of our rodeo. As you know, in the addendum, there is actually a payment. There was some concern by some people that we'd be paying the city to move those dates, and it's not a payment to move the dates. We heard loud and clear the concern that you might have with regard to a potential financial issue, so we wanted to make sure that was addressed, and it's really our thank you for the great partnership that you've provided us for many, many years, and we look forward to that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We're proud of the rodeo. We have, I don't know where we are right now, but we've consistently been in the top 10, top 5 indoor rodeos in the nation. And we're proud of our rodeo, and thank you guys for all your work. I don't know if the average citizen understands it's a volunteer effort, right? And thank you, because it's a sacrifice, it's a commitment, but you're the ones that make it happen, that we get to enjoy it. So thank you so much. You're appreciated. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for moving us up a little bit.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Didn't you want to reminisce, Chief?
And then is Brian Foster here? I don't know if you are. Let's go ahead and do 7.1 on the agenda. And this is to authorize, it's an action item, to authorize facilities to purchase 2,000 folding chairs, 25 chair storage carts for the Ford Idaho Center using the cooperative purchasing through Buy Board in the amount of $225,550. This is approved in the FY24 budget and was approved by legal. So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Okay.
Seeing none, roll call.
Bruner,
Yes.
Jingula,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for being ready, Brian. Okay, is there anyone else that is, we're going to make stay if we don't cover your stuff right now? I see pretty much, nope. So, sorry, guys. We're just going to dig into public hearings, and here we go. So, and needless to say, we have a lot of new business items, but we'll save those for later because we do have a number of public hearing items. So we're going to move now over to public hearings, and we're going to start with item 8.1 on the agenda. This is an action item, and this is a variance of our code 102320, limiting a sign area to 200 square feet maximum and sign height to 25 feet in order to construct a sign that is 91 feet in height and has an area of 589.17 square feet in a business community zoning district at 612 Northside Boulevard and 208 East Barbara Street. And this is for Michael Everett at Texas Republic Signs representing Jackson Energy Company. This was continued from the October 16th meeting and is our applicant here. Good evening. Thank you for coming forward. Give us your name and address.
Michael Everett, 2211 Peck Road, Houston, Texas, 77055. And I have Tim.
I'm Tim Skavinsky. I'm with Jackson Food Stores. I'm a regional manager.
Okay, thank you. Do you need his address also, or are we good?
Yes, please.
Go ahead and share your address. Thank you.
What is my address? 3500 Commercial Court, and that's in Meridian, Idaho.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for sharing with us what you're wanting to accomplish and the why behind it.
We are looking to replace the sign that is there. We have, on this particular piece of property, we have a 91-foot sign that's existing. It is, let me get my notes out. The existing sign is 478.67 square feet. They're wanting to add a new tenant in there, or they partnered with a 19 network, which is part of Pilot Travel Centers, to on their diesel side of sales, to bring in more business for their diesel part. The structure that's existing, it's a non-conforming sign, which means it can't be added to from the city standpoint. So, and not only that, structurally, it wouldn't be able to hold the extra signage that we were requesting. So the whole thing would need to be replaced. In doing so, it'll clean up the area, take it from a 2-pole sign to a 1-pole sign, make it look much nicer, cleaner look. The variance is actually for, we're allowed 200, so it'd be about 389.17 square feet, and then 66 foot in additional height is for the variance. So that would give us the same height as what's there with a little bit more square footage. Again, it would clean up the area, make it look a lot nicer than it was. I understand that they're trying to clean up the view from the freeways, beautify the area, and we believe this will help do that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Well, really, the one thing I'd like to point out is that there were a couple of concerns that the council had with, that I read in the notice, and one of those concerns were gaining a competitive advantage, and really what we're trying to do here is communicate with our own customers. So 19 is part of the Pilot Flying J network, which is a huge network. And currently, those drivers that have the Pilot Flying J fleet ability to use that, they're currently passing our exits right now because there's no option for them. So this gives them an option to stop, and it's going to bring additional revenue to all the businesses in the area because it's incremental. We're not taking volume from Maverick or Sinclair or anybody else. It's going to be incremental business because those, like I said, those drivers didn't have an option in the past. And as we know, those trucks are really large trucks. So the sign size is very important because of being able to see that sign, being able to make the decision to stop at that exit, and to be able safely to get over without causing any craziness out on the roads. So that's really why we're looking to try and do all that.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions at this time for our applicants? Okay, so you may be aware or not, we will go through the public hearing, staff report, public hearing opportunity, then we will have you back for closing comments. So if there are any questions raised during this discussion, you might want to jot them down and be prepared to answer them when you get to wrap up at the closing of this public hearing.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Rodney.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Rodney Ashby, Director of Planning and Zoning, for the record. I think they've covered most of this here. You can see the location. I've tried to clearly identify where that existing sign is on the map here, just south of I-84 and east of Northside Boulevard. And I'll go into some details here, maybe. Sorry, give me just a second. Sorry about that. Our clicker isn't working, so I'm going to use Daniel. To grant a variance, you need to find these 5 conditions for the variance. And just a high-level view here, staff concluded that just based on the facts of the project and the request here, the first 4 aren't consistent with those criteria. And I'll go into a little bit more detail, but the last one seems to be met. So let's continue. This is the comprehensive plan. It's community mixed use designation. You can go to the next one, please. And here's the zoning, a little closer view of the zoning. There's actually 2 zones on this property. The property is definitely strange shaped, but where the sign is located is in the BC zone. And there's multiple businesses around that. I think most of you should be fully aware of the businesses in that area. It's a high-profile portion of our city. And just a quick
reference to history, in 1985, there was a variance that was approved for a 90-foot tall sign, and the sign that was constructed is just over that. It's 91 feet. I just felt like we should stick that in here, in the variance in here, just for clarity. I'm not sure how it got approved over the 90 feet, but it's close. So again, this would, if this is granted, it would solidify that and make sure that that's really clear. The size of the sign is definitely out of the zoning regulations, the allowed signage area. And so really it comes down to that, whether you're wanting to approve that sign size, the area of that sign. And it is larger currently than what we allow, but that is because at the time we didn't have those restrictive zoning codes to limit the amount of sign area. Next slide. Thank you. Variance purpose, you've all seen this before. We've talked about this before, but high level here, a variance is not intended to grant something to one business or entity over another one with the same opportunities. So state code does not allow us to look at financial considerations for, it's difficult to make money if you don't grant this. That's not a consideration that state code allows. And so it does need to be based on the criteria in code that I outlined already. Continue. And here are those, again, those 5 criteria that you have to consider to grant a variance. Next. Here's the BC zone and what is allowed. It's that top one, that first line in that table, freestanding pole, monument, or projecting sign, 25 feet high, and a maximum of 200 square feet. Next. And you can continue to, oh, thank you. So here are the comments we've received from the Nampa Building Department, essentially complying with code, pulling a permit when necessary. The Development Services Director opposes the granting of variances for following general reasons. First, the vision to beautify and enhance the Franklin and I-84 corridors are outlined in several plans, and this request for larger signage is in contrast to these plans. And then second, the Nampa City Code criteria for a variance are not sufficiently met. Nampa Engineering Division comments. They just had some concerns about the color, green and red. They don't want that to be confused with any signals in the area, and so they would need to work with them to address that issue. So high-level view, I've labeled what looks like 14 there as a 1 and a 4. So if you look at the number to the left, and then over on the map, that's identified where that location is. These are signs in the area that exceed the current code limitations and have been approved. So there are significant changes to what's currently in code that have been approved over the years. This is a photo that was submitted by the Stinker Station when they requested their variance last year, and it was just showing the other signs. So they were saying, look at all these other signs that can be seen, and ours can't be seen. So this is an indication of the signs that are in that area. And then below that are a bunch of different conditions that exist even outside of this picture along that corridor. So as you may recall, we came to you just recently with a code change to address this issue because at the legal's request or direction, we need to look at the code to see if we can make it so that it's not an exception for every single business that comes along getting an exception. So we brought that forward and we suggested some code language to address signage just off of the freeway, a short distance away from the freeway. And there were some concerns about that at the time. Our Development Services Director expressed some concerns at that point, saying that's not consistent with the vision that we want for the I-84 corridor, and we need to relook at that. So we came to you, and you recommended that we come back in a workshop. I've been working with the mayor, and we are proposing to do a workshop. I think it was in February. Your workshops were already scheduled out pretty well into the future, so we are in February now looking at that as an option. So some of the concerns that staff has about granting variances at this time are just that we don't want to have a perception that we're granting variances or certain special conditions to entities that come and have the knowledge and financing or money to request these variances. We want to treat everyone fairly. So that's one of the concerns. And then, as has been expressed, we need some clear vision from council and for our city about our sign code and what we want to see done there. And then finally, just a reminder that financial impact is not to be considered as criteria for approval or denial of a variance. So here, if you choose to approve this, these are proposed conditions of approval. The first one is just compliance with code, and then the second one is a couple of options that they can look at to address the colors so that there's not concerns about the signal, the traffic signal colors versus the sign. And then here are the findings. I have all kinds of facts in here, but I think what I'll do is just jump down to the conclusions. Or if you have questions about those facts, I can look back on that. So conclusion, no practical difficulty or unnecessary physical hardship exists for the proposal. Other businesses along the corridors have the same limitations for visibility from the freeway, but are not permitted taller and bigger signs than allowed by city code. In addition, the applicant's existing sign can be seen from the freeway, and it appears that the variance is being requested not to correct a hardship or difficulty unique to the business, but to create more visibility and thus become more competitive. This financial consideration is not a valid reason to grant a variance. Next one, again, there are extraordinary site characteristics. That's what you have to find applicable to the property. And so the conclusion, the location does not have extraordinary site characteristics that do apply generally to other properties in the zone. Other businesses along the corridor have the same limitations for visibility from the freeway, but are not permitted taller and bigger signs than allowed by city code. Those exceeding height and area regulations were considered on their own merits unique to their location, and that has to be done for variance approvals. Granting a variance because others in the area have been granted a variance is in contrast to their requirement to evaluate the project based on its own merits. In addition, the applicant's existing sign can be seen from the freeway, and it appears that the variance is being requested not to correct a hardship or difficulty unique to the business, but to create more visibility and thus become more competitive. This is not allowed by state code. Third one, literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by the owners of other properties classified in the same zoning district. Conclusion, though other signs have been granted variances or are legal non-conforming in the area, the zoning code does not grant those same privileges to all businesses within the BC or ILRS zoning district. These approvals were granted to individual applicants based on the merits of each request. Literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would not deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by the owners of other properties in the BC or ILRS zoning district. Other businesses along corridors have the same limitations for visibility from the freeway, but are not permitted taller and bigger signs than allowed by city code. So again, the rest of this is kind of a repeat. Same principles apply to each of these findings of fact. This one is a little bit different. The granting of the variance will not constitute a grant of special privilege. But again, it comes back to we need to treat everybody fairly. We need to treat everyone the same. And if there are special conditions that make it impossible to treat them fairly or the same, then that's what we need to look at. But I don't find that in this case. And then the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health or safety or welfare. And actually, this one shouldn't say findings. Actually, it should say findings for denial, but this one is met. I don't see any concerns about health or safety on this criteria. And then here's a potential motion for your consideration. I do have, I thought I had some slides about showing the elevations, but those are in your packet as well.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
A couple questions. So, Rodney, forgive me, but how long have you been with the city in this position?
In this position, since 2020.
Okay, so am I correct in that the soonest variance that I saw was 2016 for this area?
Let's go back to that.
I think there's one in 1985, which is long before.
Yeah, 1985.
I'm just trying to get a little history. You said they were granted on their individual merit is what I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any recall on what the individual merits were in comparison to this, and whether you or whoever was making these staff recommendations were in favor or not in favor of giving those
I can't
variances?
speak to real specifics there, but I can speak to a different climate of variances being used, frankly, outside of what the criteria is. Unfortunately, that's
so that's a history of inconsistency is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
Okay, the challenge that I have personally is that they were granted, and I guess I would have been part of that 2016. The others I don't think I was a part of, but you have two that are 90-foot tall variances that are standing and displayed at this point in time.
That's correct. Some of these weren't variances. So the Chevron, the Jack in the Box, the Maverick, those aren't variances.
So those are not 90-foot tall. Now the Stinker Station, that was really recent. Help me with that one. 22.
So that was last year. Yep.
And I don't have the recall. Do you have the recall? What the reason for the variance?
I remember this one very well.
Okay, thanks.
And essentially it came down to the council looked at these and said, well, we've granted these other ones to go in all over the place. So we think the recommendation from staff was a denial of the variance, but the council felt like you've granted all these other variances or allowed signs of that size and height, and so it would be unfair to not grant the variance. Again, all I can do is point you back to code and the criteria for approval.
Yeah. So I guess and then I will let someone else speak. What I'm struggling with, that this has been granted, and to me, even though I'm a short-term guy here, so either this code needs to be changed or we need to start following it.
And I just want to real quickly clarify, this is not a time for discussion.
Okay.
It's a time only for Rodney
questions.
to answer questions, and we'll
Okay.
do discussion after the public hearing.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney, do you know the size, the area of the current sign?
Yeah, he said 470 square feet.
So 470 square feet. They're asking for 589 square feet.
Correct.
Currently, the sign is 90 feet tall, granted by variance in 1985, and they're asking for 91 feet.
The current sign is 91 feet tall.
Oh, 91.
And what I'm saying is, it was granted for 90, it got installed and it was 91.
Okay.
It's really close,
I
but
just wanted clarity as far as on the current size sign and what they're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other specific questions for Rodney?
Mayor, I do quickly. Rodney, would this size and height be considered in our workshop in February? Is this something that we might be looking at? Recommendation by staff that we could move that to code?
I don't recall the exact size that we looked at in our proposal, but it was a certain distance from the freeway, and this is definitely within that certain distance of the freeway, that we would allow a greater height and a greater size. Do you recall the size?
The height was 70 feet, so anything over 70 feet would still require a variance. And then I think the size maybe went from 3 to 400.
So still beyond
But it was
what we
within
were
500
recommending.
feet
but-
of the freeway. It had to be within 500 feet of the freeway.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Rodney? Okay, thank you, Rodney. Let's move into the public hearing portion of our meeting.
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone signed up.
Is there anyone here that had intended to sign up and speak on behalf of this public hearing? Yes, go ahead and come forward and please state your name and address. And you'll have 3 minutes. Yes, thank you.
My name is Steve Delgadillo, and I'm at in Nampa. That's 56 South Frontier Way, 83687. And I was going to speak on the Cultural Center. Is this a good thing?
It's wrong public hearing.
Okay.
So sorry. That is a different item.
All right.
That we'll cover later. This is.
Later today? Or?
Uh-huh. But
Okay,
it isn't a public hearing later.
Understood.
Okay, so
Thank you.
sorry. Thank
That's
you.
all right.
Thank you.
I want to make sure. It's my first time.
You know what? I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Is there anyone else that had intended to testify on this particular subject? Okay, seeing none, this is an opportunity, one, for council. If we have any further questions for Rodney, I don't see any at this time. So this is an opportunity for applicant to come back and provide some closing comments.
Well, the first thing I'd like to mention is there's concern about beautifying the corridors and things like that. And I think that Jackson's has a history of beautifying the areas that they do business in. We've remodeled multiple stores and sites, and they just look so much better than they did before. So I think that that's in line. And then also, like we spoke to earlier, those signs are not that pretty. They're 2 double poles. They're huge. They're a lot of metal there, and we're looking at going to a single pole, modern-looking sign that's going to be much more appealing in the area. And the one thing I want to point out is that we're not increasing, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not increasing the sign sizes. We're adding a sign that's going to increase that area, which is the 19 sign, so that truck drivers know that they have that option to pull off at our exit now moving forward, so that they know that that option to fuel using the Pilot Flying J network is there for them.
Do you have a picture of the sign?
We do.
I think it would be important for us to see the picture of the sign, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have it, or do you want to have it? Oh, okay, I think I've got it.
Rodney, do you have that? Okay. And while Rodney's pulling that up, Councilman Haverfield has a question.
Yes. So my question to you, if you have just a second, is the height of the sign being at 90 feet, is that for eastbound traffic to be able to see that over the overpass? Is that why the height?
For both ways. We just want to keep it the same height as it is currently. Whether it's 90 or 91 makes no difference. 1 foot's not going to make a difference to us.
I realize that. I was just wondering for initially when the variance was approved, was it for eastbound traffic? Being able to be seen, being able to see that sign?
That was quite a while back, so
that was before
I'm sure the
my time.
freeway
Before
was
you were
different
born?
then.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It was before Natalie was born. I
It
know.
was. I was thinking that, actually.
Can I approach and give you the picture?
Yes,
Or is it ready to show?
Rodney, do you have one that you can display?
And we're talking about this site right now?
Yes,
Okay,
the
thank
site.
you. Do you have
I
multiple
want to
copies?
address
or
one more
just-
thing is the have a green price sign for diesel. It's not going to have a red for the unleaded.
Let's give it over here. We have a way to display it right over here. So Mark, thank you so much.
And just so you know, this is the prettier of the 2 signs.
So will the Shell sign be a part of this, the Shell logo?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, so this is the existing sign?
And the one to the right is what we're looking at going to.
Thank you. This is really helpful and important to the decision. So it isn't a matter of increasing the square footage, it's a matter of adding the sign, which actually is below the total height of the sign. Thank you. So let's just leave that up. Okay, with that, council, do you have any questions?
Just a mayor, if I may, clarification. So you're replacing this sign, I mean, it's, you got the height you want, so you have the visual that you need.
The
So-
height's staying the same.
So
yes.
what is the main, it's just needs to be, it's just age or what? What are
Well,
we talking about
It's
here?
that little 1.9 section. Currently, there's nothing identifying that we have the 1.9 option at that
So
location.
your truckers that are part of this,
1.9 network,
so you
correct.
do it, so I'm not quite understanding why you couldn't just add that aspect to your current sign.
The existing structure will not handle it, and
Just to
we
it.
would still have to come to a variance for that
Square footage.
square footage.
Okay. Very good. Thanks.
Okay, council, any further questions? And any further comments?
I think that's all I had.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we've covered it.
Thank you. I
Thank y'all very
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you. Okay, council, as long as you don't have any further questions for the applicant, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this is the opportunity for council discussion. So Darrell, excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier.
No,
I just wanted
you
to
are
make sure
totally
we-
proper, Mayor, because I should remember those things one of these days. Maybe not. I mean, I'm challenged. I'm gonna, our staff do such a wonderful job, and I know it's got to stop somewhere. But with this sign already being, 91 feet, and they just want to replace that height with the same height. I mean, if this was current sign was a 40-foot or whatever, and they're wanting to raise it to 90 feet, I would be totally against that. But with them just wanting to match their current height, I will be voting in favor of the variance.
Mayor, can I just clarify? It's not just the height, it's also the area.
Right, the actual
Just wanna
square
make
footage of the sign. Yes, I think we
You're
understand
talking
that.
about the,
Actual sign
the
square
The
visual
size of
signage.
the area, the square footage of the signage is increasing, and so that's what the variance is necessary for.
And so let me just, so the Jackson's part, is that square, is the Jackson's going to be bigger than the old Jackson's?
So
They cannot answer, so you
Okay.
guys can't answer, I'm sorry.
what's happening here is they're replacing the sign. They've got a two-pole structure currently, and they're replacing it with the sign that you're seeing right now on the right. And so, yeah, it's a new sign. And the amount of, the panel that's below that number 2 diesel, and it looks like even the 1.9 are new pieces of that sign. So those additions will increase the size of
Well,
the
I'm
sign.
only seeing, Rodney, I'm only seeing one addition, and that's the 1.9, and that's their main purpose, is my understanding. So I'm seeing four, what do you call it, platelets, or whatever you want to call them, compared to 3.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. The square footage is because they're wanting to have their drivers know that they are there.
Yeah, it's a larger sign.
Yeah, so I'm still going to be in favor of the variance.
Rodney, could we clarify, the actual shell sign, portion of that sign, is it larger on the new sign? Is it the same size, Shell and Jackson's, and the pricing section?
I don't know the exact dimensions of the existing sign. We only have the dimensions of the current sign, except that we know the square footage, the total square footage that was permitted.
Right. And
So
we
I don't know,
understand that,
this,
but-
it looks like this is a brand-new sign, and the
But it doesn't
dimensions
look
are...
like any of the dimensions are any larger than the existing sign.
That could be, again, the difference between what they have currently is 470 square feet to 489 square feet, so roughly 120 square feet extra is what you're considering for a variance.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I just point out, it says on there reuse sign cabinet on the Jacksons and the Shell.
I'm sorry, thank you. I didn't see that. Okay, thank you. So it's the same. Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions or discussion?
Mayor Kling.
Yes?
I was just going to follow up on what Darrell said. I don't have any heartache over The height, obviously, it was approved by variance in 1985. The additional area of basically 120 square feet doesn't give me any heartburn either. So I don't have any problem with this project being advanced with an approval.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I would stand for a motion.
So moved.
Let's go ahead and read the,
Oh,
thank you. And so can we put that,
And Mayor,
The
I did
motion.
not recommend findings for denial, or excuse me, for approval.
Oh,
So
goody.
you're going to have to come up with some findings that supports your decision on each of those 5 criteria.
Rodney, I will say, I think next time, I think we should have findings on both, because it's, and some recommendations, and I understand why. Your thoughts on that? The challenge is when we have 5 or 6, more than 6, is it 6 or 7 public hearings tonight? I guess we do have to, but it's a little time consuming. So let me see, yeah, we've got 6 more public hearings to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the motion, and then we're going to have to work on the facts and findings, yep.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance of NCC 10-23-20, limiting sign area of 2,200 square feet, maximum of sign height of 25 feet in order to construct a sign of 91 feet in height and have an area of 589.17 square feet in the BC Zoning District 612 North Side Boulevard and 208 East Barber Street from Michael Everett for Texas Republic Signs, representing Jackson's Energy Company, with all the conditions listed in the staff report. And because
Replaces an existing, same height level?
requirement is the same as previously granted,
And only increases by how many feet?
120 or something,
120 square feet.
due to letting their drivers know they're there.
So if we're helping her craft this, you can take into consideration 1 pole versus 2. So I mean, that in itself is maybe even decreasing the area of the sign. So I don't think from a sign's area standpoint that it's really that much of a difference.
It's a site issue, that's a better issue. Yeah.
That's a good point. Thank
How's
you.
that?
Let's second that.
Okay,
Good job.
agrees.
Do you have what you need, Rodney?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. We will craft these findings based on your conversation here and then bring them back for your approval at a future date.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Natalie and seconded by Councilman Reynolds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Hammerfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
We're going to move on to action item 8.2. This is an action item, and this is another variance of our sign code 102320, limiting the sign area to 200 square feet maximum and the sign height to 25 feet in order to construct a sign 46 feet 11 inches in height and have an area of 398.5 square feet. This is in a community business zoning district at 1407 and 1409 North Franklin Road. And this is also for Michael Everett at Texas Republic Signs, representing Jackson Energy Company. As the applicant, as you come forward this time, you all need to repeat your name and address, go through that again. This time, if there is a picture of the sign and what you're trying to accomplish, we would appreciate it seeing during the presentation time.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You got it. Perfect. I'll take it over. Michael Everett, Texas Republic Signs, 2211 Peck Road, Houston, Texas, 77055.
And I'm Tim Skavensky, Jackson Food Stores, 3500 Commercial Court, Meridian, Idaho.
Thank you for repeating those again.
You're welcome.
And thank you. Maybe he'll get it switched over.
Thank you.
Okay, on this variance request is pretty much close to the same. The existing sign structure, we couldn't add to it as far as the structure won't handle it. It's non-conforming sign. This one is at 204.75, so it's just over the square footage. And if we were to try to add signage to the existing one, it would also fail the wind load test, and the engineer we wouldn't put people in danger of trying to drive under it and whatnot. But as you can see, this one will be pretty much the same thing. The only thing we're adding would be on this one would be the price sign and the 19. The signs are the same size for the Subway and the Shell. So the two that we're adding would increase that square footage to 398.50, which is 198.50 over the allowed square footage. And the existing sign right now is 46 foot 10 and a half. We're asking for the same height. No additional height, just as is. And again, this one will clean up the look of the area. This one it looks like it's been added to a bunch of times. Kind of an eyesore, but this will definitely clean it up.
That's as long as everybody can see that picture well, because this one is really a kind of a metal monstrosity. It's not pretty.
And it's structurally not good, so.
So Mayor, if I may, so you had no price on your diesel or gas on the present sign?
Not on the current sign.
And what is the reason for that?
They had it on the smaller sign, but at the time, Shell was selling their diesel. Shell will no longer be selling their diesel, so Shell, we can't price on Shell's price sign. So we'd have to have our own price sign.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mayor, is that diesel sign the same size as the other diesel sign on the other sign?
A little bit smaller.
This one is smaller?
Yeah, a little bit
Okay.
smaller. Looks like 3 feet smaller in height. Probably a little bit less square footage on, yeah, because the higher up you go, the little bit bigger you want to get for the, but on the other one, we hadn't matched what was there.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. We'll have you back.
Thank you.
Just as we just did. Thank you. Okay, Rodney.
Mayor and Council, for the record, Rodney Ashby. It's very, very similar to the last one. Not a lot different, just down the road. So I think I can kind of slide through these pretty quickly. Again, a different location. So again, I found the same 4 applied or didn't apply, and the last one did apply. But a different location, commercial designation on the comp plan this time. BC zoning. Surrounding land uses are listed there. We've got some industrial as well. Some history here. 1991, a conditional use permit was given to change an existing sign of 351 square feet and replace it with a new electronic sign at 349 square feet and 48 feet tall, slightly shorter than the previous sign. The size of the sign was permitted at the time the CUP was issued, but between 1991 and 2009, the sign code changed to limit that to 200 square feet. So that's why the difference there. And there's one of the sign locations. Again, the same criteria and code, 200 square feet maximum, same conditions. I'm going to slide through this pretty quickly.
Could you go back to the last one, though? Across the street from this.
Number 3?
Number 3, the Jacksons. Okay, help me understand this. So that was 2 and 3, and then where's this current one is which number?
It's number 1.
Number 1, okay, and so where's the one closest?
It's over by Franklin instead of on North Side.
I'm sorry, I'm not even seeing number 1.
So again, that looks like 14. It's a 1 and a 4.
And 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so the current sign for Chevron, directly on the other side is 33 feet tall.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I already addressed those in my previous presentation, same concerns from staff. Here are proposed conditions of approval, and then findings, almost the same. So I'm just going to slide through these. Those are all in your packet, and you've seen them. And then motions for your consideration.
Thank you, Rodney. Are there
Yeah.
any questions for Rodney at this time? No, thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, and
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone signed up.
thank you. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this particular sign variance? Seeing no one? Okay, this is an opportunity for the applicant to come back and provide any closing comments.
I wanted to add to it, at 200 square feet and 20 foot tall, when you're driving down the freeway, nothing will be seen at that height or square footage. That makes your signs extremely small. To me, that's a safety problem for being that small. I understand that y'all's code, but I would, we have to respect that, but, and I can
But in
appreciate-
your professional opinion,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
too small.
It would be.
Thank you
very
for sharing that.
This is just the same as the other sign. It's really just to communicate to our customers that we're there.
The difference that I see on this one is that you are actually adding a pricing sign that wasn't already there, other than the one that you were wanting to accomplish.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for our applicant? As you know, once we close, we'll be done. Okay. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. If there are no questions for the applicant, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, council, what are your thoughts?
Craft it again.
Oh my. Okay, I make a motion to approve the variance of NCC 10-23-20, limiting sign area to 200 square feet, maximum of a sign height of 25 feet, in order to conduct a sign of 46 feet and 11 inches in height and have an area of 398.5 square feet in the BC zoning district of 1407 and 1409 of North Franklin for Michael Everett and Texas Republic Signs representing Jackson Energy Company. With the all conditions listed in the staff report, because all of the same as we said before.
That'll work.
Todd.
Okay, you have to state
Second.
it.
State it. We have to state it. The height was already previously approved. And one pole versus four.
And the gas price went down to $2.98 a gallon. Well, you're laughing, aren't you?
Especially diesel.
Especially diesel.
Yeah. Is that all you need, Rodney, or do you need more from us?
Todd gave you an okay.
Todd, we're good?
It's good.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Dale seconded it. I have a question, though. So the difference on this one is that they are adding the pricing sign. The previous sign did not have the pricing on it. So I guess.
They explained that, Mayor, I thought, question as far as why they had to do that, since Shell was not selling the gas anymore.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, as long as you guys feel comfortable with it.
They don't sell the diesel, right? Shell doesn't do diesel.
Okay.
That was my recall.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
I have to say on both of those, you know what, we do want to respect our sign ordinances, but both of those signs are much better looking than the two-pole, especially that last one. That is not an attractive sign. So, yeah, it will be cleaned up. Thank you. We're going to move on to 8.3 on the agenda. This is an action item. This is annexation and zoning to RS6, Single-Family Residential Zoning District on a .63 acre parcel at 8112 West Greenhurst. And this is for Randy Meyer, and this is for connection to city water services. And good evening, are you Mr. Meyer?
I am Mr. Meyer.
Good. As you've been listening, you probably know. Feel free to give us your name and address, which we've already stated, but I'll let you say it again.
My name is Randy Meyer and my wife Jane. We live at 812 West Greenhurst Road in Nampa, and we're asking for annexation into the city of Nampa. And the purpose was to hook up to city water. The middle of July, we had we've lived for 30 years on this property. Our well broke. And trying to get the pump out of the well, it broke in half, plugged the well. And we came here and asked for city water. And the city hooked us up to water. We've got a plumber that hooked us up. We've been using Nampa City water for a few weeks now, and we would like to be annexed into the city.
Wonderful. I'm so pleased to hear that we could quickly respond to the predicament that you were in.
Everybody with the city of Nampa bent over backwards to help us.
I'm so pleased to hear that. Thank you.
Wonderful people.
Good. We have good people that are here to serve, so I'm glad to hear that.
And we have a property with water.
Bummer.
Now, and that's quite a deal. We were, I believe we were about 6 weeks without water of our own. We hooked a garden hose up to the neighbor's well and hooked it into our plumbing, and that worked, and now we need to be annexed into the city.
I love the resourcefulness that just
I
took
don't know if I
place
said
there.
that right, but
Well, that's cool. I mean, you got it done and you had water, and that's what was important and needed.
yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. Council, do you have any questions? None at this time. After the public hearing, we'll have you come back if we need to, so thank you. So we will step into a public hearing. We'll have a staff report, public hearing, and then we'll have you back.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Christy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. What say you?
Questions? Thank you for your presentation.
I can go through it if you'd like. All the criteria for annexation, all the criteria for zoning, or I can get you to your motion,
There we go.
and we can move right through it.
You're on our favorite list.
Thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Do we have any questions? No. Thank you, Christy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so this is a public hearing, and
There is no one signed up, Madam Mayor.
thank you. Is there anyone that had intended to testify on this matter this evening? And seeing no one, I would like to ask our applicant, do you have any closing comments or anything else you'd like to say before we close public hearing?
Just that I want to say thank you to the city of Nampa for helping us.
Yeah.
You are welcome, and he said,
Everybody that was involved.
Yeah. Mayor, I would just be interested, and if you guys have poor recall as I do, I don't expect you to come with a name, but who actually was communicating with you from the city? I'm just curious. Was there a main individual that you
go
worked
ahead and
with?
come to the mic since we will want to.
Just want to give them kudos if you do recall.
Well, the city water department, the planning and zoning.
Okay, so you had a lot of different people you're speaking with.
I went to an office on, I believe it's 12th Avenue and
Development Services Center.
Development Services, and I
The old
talked-
Home Federal Bank.
went to a desk right there, and there was multiple people that
Just
stepped up
surrounded you
to
and-
help me,
okay.
and they had no problem directing me to the next person.
Okay, you probably had your wife with you, that's why they were so kind too, right?
I brought her on the second.
If we're smart, we always bring our wives if we're smart.
Yeah, well, I had names, but it's been a couple of
No,
months.
that's fine. I just curious if you did.
Use them or lose them.
All right. You made our night by complimenting.
Thank you,
First,
folks,
thanks.
yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if there are no questions for our applicant, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I
council.
move to approve the annexation zoning to the RS6 zoning district on 812 West Greenhurst Road for Mr. and Mrs. Randy Meyer, with all conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report, and welcome to Nampa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Jingula,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Hammerfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
There you go. You are done, and thank you.
Is there anything else we do? Will we get a notice in the mail?
I tell you what, Christie she'll give you a call. Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to move to 8.4 on the agenda. This is an action item. This is a zoning map amendment from suburban residential to light industrial at 3814 Airport Road and 315 North 39th Street with two parcels totaling 1.48 acres. This is for Gerald and Karen Moore. And the original concept is to rezone the property that was recently split into two parcels in order to sell the northern property, which is 315 North 39th Street, for industrial use. Is our applicant here? The Moores? Good evening. Go ahead and come forward and go ahead and state your name again and address.
Gerald Moore, 3814 Airport Road. I've just desired to rezone it to light industrial because that's where the neighborhood's headed. It's really not, from a business, from a business point, the area is just not dream residential area anymore with the airport and trailer factory right next door. It's a pretty simple one for me, but I'm open to any questions.
Great. Council, do you have any questions? So I'll tell you what, we will listen through the staff report. You just saw the process. We'll come back to you after public hearing and allow you to answer any questions or clarify anything that needs to be done.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. Rodney?
I would say that last one wasn't really our normal process, but. All right, so Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director. This one, I agree, this one's pretty simple. There's a lot of industrial that's going on in the area, and so staff's recommendation is, and the recommendation of the commission is for approval of the zoning map amendment. These are the criteria that are necessary for finding approval of a rezone. And just quickly, comprehensive plan is industrial. Zoning currently is RA, but they're requesting IL. Surrounding uses and land uses in the area, IP to the west, IL to the north and south, and then the RA to the east. Services are available. Except irrigation, no public main line currently exists, but that's potential in the future. I've got some details about traffic on here if we need to go to that, but I think this is pretty straightforward. You can see the two parcels right between the, there's essentially two buildings to the north there. You can see the really light property line. That's the property boundary, and so he's looking at a potential of selling off that northern property there with the existing building already on it. I do have some photos showing those industrial buildings if you'd like to see that, but those are also in your packet. Applicable regulations, we've kind of already gone over those. Setbacks in code for IL. And design review is required if it were to redevelop, but the existing building, if it just stays the same, nothing is required there. Here are the comments we've received, pretty standard comments. Okay, there's the request, the traffic. And here's just a kind of a 3D view of that. That building to the, on the far right, up against the trailer property, where they're manufacturing trailers. You can see that's where that new property is, or that northern property is, that would be sold off as industrial. So there are current industrial buildings on the property. Here are my conclusions. I've got all the findings in the staff report, proposed conditions of approval, just consistent with our comments, and here's a potential motion for your consideration.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
So Rodney, can you go back to that, either the aerial view or that 3D? So the request is for the whole acre and a half, which includes the residence, to be an IL.
Yeah.
So having residential in the IL, that's not an issue at this time?
It's not, because it's a pre-existing use and they couldn't expand onto it, but they could continue to use it as residential.
Okay, so that would be my question, if they could continue to use it
Yeah.
as residential. So the split, is it an even split or is it a partial? Where's the?
Yeah, thank you, Christy. Yeah, right where that
Okay.
pointer
So
goes.
it's not within 20 feet of the building or the residence itself?
No, of the residents, no, definitely not.
All right, thank you.
So quick question, does the split allow for the appropriate setbacks that are required? I know
Yeah.
this is existing, but.
It's already done, yeah, so the
It's
splits, it's not a split, the property boundary is there, and so there's nothing we could do about that, it's just rezoning.
Okay. And just a point of question or clarification, I thought I saw in there something about the wells or something, but this isn't an annexation, this is a rezone. So whatever water is there, the existing uses would stay in use, is that correct?
So in a rezone, we have a lot more flexibility, just like an annexation. We can put conditions on those. So I think the engineering comments is probably what you're referring to. Letter G, I think, is that what you're referring to?
Well, I just saw the comment that said that any existing wells needed to be abandoned or something. And so on this one, are they currently connected to water? Is it city water or are they on a well septic? And are we requiring them?
Mayor, I believe that they are on their own well. And
Okay.
that statement basically is just if they were ever to change the use of the property and need to be connected to city water, they'd have to abandon that well. But until that well goes, something happens to it, they can continue to use it.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. We're not requiring them to make any changes at this time. That's
No.
just your clarifying language in the event of.
Yes.
Thank you.
Essentially, you'll see nothing change in this except on our map for zoning.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify in my head that. Thank you. Okay, council, do you have any questions for Rodney before we step into public hearing? Were you done, Rodney? Okay, excuse me, are there any questions? Seeing none, okay, this is a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, there is no one signed up for this item.
Okay, is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this item? Seeing none, this is an opportunity for our applicant to come forward and give us any closing comments or make any comment whatsoever as you close. Anything we need to know?
Yeah, the house, just to clarify, the house that we're living in there is on the well, and whoever purchases that back parcel, that's on them, city water, power, et cetera. That seems to be the direction the area is going, so business-wise, it just seems smart to me to, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Because it's definitely not going to go back to residential. So that was it.
Thank you. Okay, hey, council, do you have any questions for our applicant? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'd stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, council, what is the will of the council? Or discussion?
Mayor Kling, I don't see any reason not to approve the zoning map amendment, so I'll make that motion from RA zoning district to IL for 3814 Airport Road and 315 North 39th Street. Parcel numbers as listed for Gerald and Karen Moore, with the proposed conditions of approval and proposed findings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Angula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Gerald and Karen, there you go. I have to say, that's probably one of the best-looking beards I've seen.
I know,
I was going to say.
Mayor, I
You
know,
you were thinking the same, I just figured I would say what we were thinking.
Mayor, I know he doesn't have the stomach, but don't you need, we need a Santa Claus for
We're looking for one.
Santa Claus for the tree?
Okay, so we're ready for 8.5. This is an action item, annexation and zoning to Community Business Zoning District and a potential development agreement at 0 Karcher Road. This is a subdivision preliminary plat and a subdivision preliminary plat for Woods Crossing subdivision. This is for Biltmore Company, representing Nampa Paving, Randy Wood, and the original concept was 8 commercial lots to include construction of a 10,000 square foot strip retail building, 2 office buildings, and commercial lots for a future coffee shop, fast food restaurant, and 2 office buildings. Is our applicant here this evening as I look up? Good evening.
I am here.
I'll let you state your name and address.
My name is Jason Polson, representing Biltmore Company, address 1580 West Cayuse Creek Drive in Meridian, Idaho. Mrs. Mayor and Council, tonight Biltmore and Randy Wood are pleased and excited to bring before you a short but compelling presentation for Woods Crossing. This parcel is currently located at 0 West Karcher Road, just south of the Target store, part of the Treasure Valley Marketplace commercial complex. We feel that this project will add to the variety and give it additional draw to that the commercial offerings there. This parcel, is 3.98 acres. We are proposing tonight to provide a fast food establishment, a 10,000 square foot retail pad, a coffee shop, and 2 5,000 square foot office buildings there. Woods Crossing, or this parcel, is currently in Canyon County property, enclave zoning, being surrounded by Nampa city limits. We are asking tonight that it be zoned BC, similar to surrounding areas that are touching it, also zoned BC and IL as well. As you know, this area has developed at a marketable rate over the last little bit. The location of this parcel and the bare ground there would add to the variety and the amenities available to the area. Again, Ms. Mayor and Council, tonight we ask for your approval of Woods Crossing. We have agreed with all of staff's findings on this project, are grateful for their support and comments there, and thank you for your time this evening. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions at this time? I think you know the process, so we'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for annexation and zoning to BC for this 3.92 acre parcel. Oh.
Well, he did a really good job, so there we go. I know, it was excellent.
All right. So as stated, this property is enclaved and surrounded by BC zoning properties with IL to the south. It does have utilities available to it. There was no traffic impact study required at this time, but the study, oh, wait a minute, sorry. There was a traffic impact study for the Hawks Landing apartments across the way. The study identified that the need to improving Karcher bypass in this area to provide left and right turns for full widening to 5 lanes. These improvements are currently underway and expected completion by the end of September. Are they done? Okay. Let's see, the developer should update the TIS based on the currently proposed commercial use to determine if there are any additional project triggers for the impact on the area. And then Compass also has made a recommendation, as well as the engineering department, that they try to work with the target property to make a through connection to the north. So that was the correspondence from the building department, fire department, engineering division. The annexation, the comprehensive plan is commercial in the future land use map. There are a number of commercial objectives in the comp plan. Staff finds those to be met. There are a number of commercial principles as far as commercial space, economic base, economic development, and the characteristics of strip-style commercial development, all stated in your staff report. The BC zoning is a permitted zone in the future land use map. The surrounding properties contain retail, shopping, restaurants, multifamily buildings, as you know. All the guiding principles in the comp plan have been met. The commercial uses proposed are allowable uses within Chapter 3. The development of the property will be guided by Title 10, Chapter 16, and Chapter 34 for design review, and they will be required to provide a 20-foot landscape buffer along the Karcher Bypass Road. Chapter 16 provides the setbacks and the requirements for development of those properties. The landscaping will be reviewed at the time of building permit or final plat. Typically with commercial plats, we allow the pads to be developed individually. But in this case, we're going to look at the plat as a whole and require those frontage improvements up front, and then the pads can be developed incrementally after that. Staff findings for annexation those are found to be met. Staff findings for zoning are found to be met, does not create a spot zone. The recommended conditions of approval are listed in your staff report. And there's your potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Mayor Kling? I just have one question. The exit and entry into this property, is that going to be right across the street from the other west, was it Dale Avenue? Is that what that is? And if so, that's the first question. The second thing is, if it does, will there be a traffic light?
Councilman Rodriguez, we always try to align entrances with each other just to create less points of conflict. Right. But I don't believe that either one of those developments will generate enough traffic for a traffic light.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Christy, when was that traffic study done?
Oh, for the other one? Let's see if I have a date on that. Yeah, it's not very old. It says was accepted by the engineering division in December of 2021, and it was updated in July of 22.
And those improvements that you spoke about that are underway, when will those be done, and who's paying for those right now?
That would be a Daniel question, sorry.
That's okay.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Jangila, those improvements are just waiting on the striping to be fully complete, and that's here in the next couple weeks, I believe. And so the barrels and everything have been removed in the area, and those were paid for by the developments.
City funds aren't paying for any of that, it's all development?
Nope, that's all development.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Daniel, before you sit down. The distance between the proposed entry, which is the across alignment, I can't read what that road name is, and the entrance on the southern portion into the Target Shopping Center portion where Target is, what is that distance between those two entrances?
It's about 300 feet.
So that meets our standard as far as for distances between those entries?
So the Target one is a right-in, right-out only. And so as we look at that and the Sand Hill location, this is the best location for that access. Yeah, so
I just know, I've seen it on several occasions, the queuing of cars or the stacking of cars would actually be almost in front of this new proposed entrance as traffic going into the Costco and all those different things, so.
During peak
traffic
times,
study-
that certainly can be the case.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what, it's going to be impacting that other entrance, that's the right in, right out. Is this going to be a full access then?
This will, at this point, be a full access. That may change as traffic patterns change in the future, but at this point, it is a full access.
Yeah, that's my concern, is without there being a median to restrict whatever southbound traffic coming down the Karcher portion and trying to turn into this point with the queuing of cars back off of the other intersection, what kind of traffic problems that's going to create.
And that is, so the queuing for, the improvements that they've done have put in that center turn lane there that will allow for those left turns. The queuing to turn into, the left queuing turn coming up there and then turning into where the Sonic and that is, that's not as high of a queuing, so I wouldn't have a concern with conflicts over that left turn queuing at the light and people coming in and turning there.
Right. I'm seeing exactly where this is at. And again, if a traffic study has said that it could be a full access without any concerns, then the traffic study, we just have to go on that. But again, from our staff standpoint, which you are you comfortable with the distances between these two entry points, knowing what kind of traffic problems it's going to create with traffic trying to cross over to get back into both of those entrances now?
I can't say that there are not concerns there. I will say that this access location is, for the configuration of that project or the property that is there and is there, this is the best location for that access. If we were to move it farther south, we create additional conflict points between it and the Sand Hill entrance. And so that's what I can say at this point.
So the other,
It is possible that at some point in the future that may need to become right in, right out. That's not necessarily something that we're looking to propose
so the
today.
second entrance that's further to the southeast, is that an emergency access only, or is that meant to be a full access as well?
I believe that one's right in, right out, if I'm remembering correctly. Or let me.
I think what Randy's trying to say is that he wants a roundabout put right there.
Is that near where you live?
Oh, good job.
Oh.
I would hope that's a full access, actually. Do I understand correctly that there is a turn lane?
They are installing a turn lane.
So at this point, it'll be 5 lanes, right to 5? Okay. So that it'll be easy for people to merge in and
As long as there's a
stack and
turn lane,
everything.
that's helpful,
Yeah.
because cars do try to cross over, and if other cars aren't allowing them to come across, then they have to wait, which is holding up traffic behind them.
So the turn lane is really good, right? It's going to keep things moving. Yeah. Okay.
He's looking up if that's a full access or not, but it is what it is, and the traffic study will hopefully be available to look at.
And so this development, oh, that's not the right, sorry. I'll have to get back to you after if there's any public testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Daniel? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, and I believe we have someone.
Madam Mayor, we do. Our first speaker is Raymond Shepard.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Kling and the rest of the City Council.
And thank you for giving us your address and name again.
111 North Chaparral, 83651, right here in the great city of Napa. Quick little history lesson for you constitutionists. The Boston Tea Party was started by the Shipbuilders Guild, carpenters. Also the Seabees, I wish they were still in the room so I could thank them personally, but the Seabees was union carpenters entering World War II that helped found and create the Seabees. That being said, my name is Raymond Shepard. I'm a special representative for the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters. We represent close to 500 carpenters here in the Treasure Valley. 100 of those live right here in the great city of Napa. The carpenters are here to protect workers, bring awareness, and elevate the construction industry to a higher standard. We are here to build responsibly. We're carpenters. We like to build. The bigger, the better. Projects such as these. I'm not speaking against this project. I would just like to see it done responsibly. There are things that the City Council could do to create better community wealth, such as language to allow projects like this exist. One of them is apprenticeship utilization, right? Investing in the youth of our communities. Members that live here, right, want to raise families here, pay taxes here. I have a couple apprentices in the room right now, right? They live here, they pay taxes here. They want an honest wage, right? Invest in the community's youth by offering them good jobs, wages, and benefits. The other thing we could do is local hire. There's language that could be provided to make sure that these developments keep the tax dollars here in Napa, right? Those extra tax dollars could help fund the police that we're short on, right? There's all kinds of different things we'd like to do to build that community wealth and keep that money and build responsibly in this city of Napa, right? I'm looking forward to building relationships with you all and maybe educate you on a few things. And maybe you could educate me on a few things, like how to speak better publicly or, politics. I'm a little bit older than most carpenters, right? I am a baby boomer. I'm on the cusp. I was born in '64, right? But I'm interested in politics. I really love to get involved and give back to my community. So if we want to make this really a better community, let's create jobs, wages, and benefits that benefit the whole community, right? Invest in our youth with some type of apprentice utilization and language for these developers, local hire, which keeps the tax dollars here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
No, there is not, Madam Mayor.
Is there anyone else that had intended to testify on this particular matter this evening? Seeing none, this is our opportunity for Mr. Polson to come back and provide any closing comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor, City Council. To answer and to respond this evening, thank you to Raymond for his thoughts there. Biltmore is a fine example of growing locally, as it's got 20 years in the valley as a local entity. We use local trades. We want to see Napa and these cities of the Treasure Valley grow and provide opportunities, and we encourage that. The access there, the main access to this road off Sand Hill Drive that was mentioned by Councilman Haverfield, that is a full access as well as to the south of this project. As stated, recent road improvements have or are near completion and weather allowing for striping to be finished. There is a lot of activity in this area, but we trust that the traffic impact studies, the engineers that have done the studies and the calculations on traffic at this proposed project and others in the area, we can only trust that they're providing accurate information and giving us not only what will serve with the current growth, but provide opportunities and access for these parcels and developments in the future as well. Again, we appreciate staff's findings and comments on this. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Council, do you have any questions? Councilman Haverfield?
Just a quick question. Do you know, as far as, does the traffic study look at a time frame where restricted access would possibly happen at this location due to the amount of traffic that's generated?
Traffic impact studies, they talk to peak flow. I will say, as an individual that patrons some of these locations, holiday season and other things are not directly calculated because of some unique circumstances that might be surrounding. But there are peak flow readings that help to address typical flow with traffic counts and meters based on number of vehicles that use
So
those.
projections, as far as future projections, there's nothing there available yet at this time?
They can project, but no projections are ever 100% accurate, right?
I just know, as far as at that stretch of road, it's just getting to be more and more traffic generated onto it. For some, it's a bypass to get around other traffic areas, but with the commercial development that's already in place, this additional commercial development, especially with the drive-through, it's just going to attract more, or it's going to create more traffic. So I'm just, as long as you're aware that there potentially could be a restricted access at some point, it's eyes wide open. You're moving down a path that might be eventually what takes place. There's going to be a lot of people that will have some concerns probably raised at a later date, but tonight we're just looking at your development as it stands.
Any other comments or questions?
Mayor, can we ask what that fast food joint's going to be?
You can ask. He may not answer or no, but yes.
We have no one under contract at this time.
Okay.
Interested parties only.
Not an in and out.
That's what I was
It is. There's no contentious city council meeting with an in and out company.
Are there any other questions at this time? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, if there are no other questions for the applicant, then I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council discussion.
Mayor, I'm just going to make a motion. First, Randy, thank you for those comments. I appreciate what you want to bring workers to Nampa and utilize our community. Thank you for that. So therefore, I'm going to move to approve the annexation of zoning to BC zoning district and subdivision preliminary plat for Woods Crossing subdivision at 0 Karcher Road for Biltmore Company representing Nampa Paving, Randy Wood, with all conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? I don't vote, but I'm going to make a comment. I think this is an excellent, beautiful project. And in my opinion, I don't think it's going to increase traffic. The traffic's already there. They're capitalizing on the traffic. And for us to be able to move that enclave into city limits, create that development, which is exactly what will happen, it'll look so much better to have that there. And I think it's going to service the public that are already there in the apartments right across the street. I don't see it increasing. I just see it servicing the people that are already there, in my opinion, because there's a lot of traffic there. And my hope is it stays open with 5 lanes with a turn lane. Because at Costco, it's horrible to get out of there because you can't stage in that turn lane. And so having a staging lane helps so much. But when you're having to dart across because it's a restricted lane, it makes it very, very difficult. So I hope it stays open with a turn lane in the middle. Anyway, those are my comments. Any other comments?
Just agree.
Okay, seeing none, let's go with a roll call.
Brenner,
Yes.
Jingula,
Oh, I'm worried about the traffic. Yes.
Haverfield,
And I've made my point. I think that traffic will just be increasing. Obviously, it's going to provide more potential services to those that live in and around it, but it's going to cause more potential traffic as well. But I'll vote in favor of it.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, done with that one? There we go. Okay, so we are ready to move to 8.6 on the agenda. Thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you. 8.6 is an action item. This is to confirm the assessment rule for the local improvement district number 168 for the purpose of constructing concrete curbs, gutter, sidewalks, pedestrian ramps, drive approaches, and street improvements in Zone F. And Daniel.
Mayor, Council, so this is for LID 168 in Zone F. We had 32 properties voluntarily participate in the sidewalk LID. The construction happened in 2020 and 21. The total cost of the improvements were $128,275.90, with $21,384.51 being funded by the city for city-related improvements, and $106,891.31 assessed to the property owners. Come on. Let me move. So the request before you today is just to confirm the assessment roll so that we can send out those assessments to the property owners. We will come back with the actual ordinance next time, the next council meeting, to pass the actual ordinance. Tonight is just for the opportunity for any of the participants to come in and voice their concerns over the assessments as they've been done. We have not received any communication from any of the property owners that participated and would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Are there any questions for Daniel at this time? Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, no one signed up for this item.
Okay, so we have no one signed up for this item. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this matter? Seen none. Are there any additional questions for Daniel? Nope. I'm going to stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council discussion and/or motion.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve the assessment roll for sidewalk LID 168.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Jangula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, ready for our last public hearing. 8.7, this is an action item, and this is a public hearing to consider a 12.55 increase in wastewater hookup fees and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution implementing those FY24 increases in the service fees charged by the city of Nampa for the wastewater hookup fees effective December 1, 2023. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We have some slides to pass out at the bench. So on September 5th, 2023, Council passed a wastewater hookup fee increase of 12.55% under Resolution number 27-2023. The resolution included a clerical error, which I'll share briefly, using an incorrect hookup rate sheet. The resolution this resolution tonight repeals and replaces a previous resolution using the correct hookup rate sheet. This is what was presented to you, the box, using FY22 numbers rather than FY23 numbers. What we have changed is we adjusted those numbers to FY23 rates. And so what we're requesting tonight is to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution implementing FY24 increases in the service fees charged to the city of Nampa for wastewater user hookup fees effective November 6th, 2023. And whereas the previous resolution 27/2023 regarding wastewater hookup fees passed on September 5th, including an incorrect rate sheet, this resolution repeals and replaces that resolution.
Very straightforward, and thank you, Jeff. Council, do you have any questions for Jeff?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to clarify if I could.
Thank you.
So Jeff, the clarification is there will not be a new increase to our taxpayers.
Mayor, Councilman, the only change from the discussion you had that night is that we use different numbers.
Yes, okay, I just want to clarify that. Thank you, sir.
If there are no other questions, we'll move into public hearing. Thank you. This is a public hearing, and,
Madam Mayor, no one has signed up for this item.
okay, is there anyone here that had intended to testify this evening?
Mayor, this gentleman in the back didn't.
That was for the Hispanic Cultural, it was a different.
Oh, that was
It was a
something else.
different one.
Yeah, it wasn't a
Yes.
public hearing, okay.
And it's not a public, yeah. Okay, if there is no one wanting to testify, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any further questions of Jeff? And this is an opportunity for discussion and/or a motion. So do you have a motion on your screen? Or
Is it just that first paragraph there?
is it to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution?
That's the resolution on the screen. That's what I.
Mayor, authorize mayor to sign resolution implementing FY24 increases in the service fees charged by the city of Nampa for wastewater user hookup fees effective November 6, 2023.
Second.
Do we need to read the resolution that's on the screen? No? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Gruner.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Jeff, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to take a 5-minute break, restroom break, and then we'll be back to conclude the meeting. Yeah. 9:30? Oh, my goodness, so I don't know if it still works. We'll see. Judge Shepherd, you must be good luck tonight. Yeah? Oh, my, I thought it'd be 10 o'clock. I keep being told don't jinx us, so. Okay, so we are ready to get started again, and I'm going to go back to the beginning of my agenda, and I guess it all depends on how long we talk through each of these items, but we are going to begin with 7.2 on the agenda. And this is an action item. This is to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution and state and local agreement addendum for the Franklin Boulevard and 3rd North freight improvement with ITD in the amount of $1,081,828.75. This is a standard agreement approved by legal. It is approved in the FY24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, question?
I maybe just didn't understand, but thanks, Crystal. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And by the way, Irina, you know, everything's personal when I bring it up. Triplets.
Triplets.
And they're due when?
Well, best case scenario in about 4 weeks, worst case in
Gracious. Way to go, girl. All right. No, I'm not done, nobody.
That wasn't the real question.
Well, yeah.
We left you get out of here, but.
Thank you.
So, Crystal, back in 18,
Yep.
the way I read it, interpreted it, that there was a $5 million federal freight grant designated for construction and so on this project. Did I read that properly?
I believe so.
So what happened to that money?
So the ITD could not distribute the freight funds until they came up with a freight plan, and it took quite a few years. It just got approved a few weeks ago.
So is the money been spent for something else or just never received?
The money was never received. It just sat in a bank account. And so the agreement that we've put forth now allows us to move forward out of concept into final design and then into construction.
But so we've lost that $5 million then?
It is still there. Right now, the freight plan shows about $9 million for this project allocated through.
So we're going to
design
use
and
the $5 million, but we still need the approximately 1.1 million more still for design, and then of course the state, they're 900,000 or whatever.
Yeah, Councilman Bruner, it's been split up between different phases of the project, so we'll have around $9 million total allocated. This project will likely be about a $13 million project, so we'll have other sources of funding, including local
It
match.
just seemed like to me, and I'm just comparing to other projects, there's even a couple other small design things, it just seemed like a ton of money for design.
Absolutely. This one does seem to have a larger price tag. It's because there's a new bridge in there, and bridges get very, very expensive
Okay,
to
there's a
design and
bridge,
realignment.
Okay.
And I have submitted something at the bench just for your guys' awareness. It is an amendment to the state-local agreement. There was a small typo on 2A. They had the wrong number associated with it, but in your council packet, the number that we have is correct. So this is just an amended state-local agreement.
Thanks for explaining that.
Thank you. Okay, there has been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Chingula,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 7.3 is an action item. This is to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign a contract for the Midland Boulevard and Iowa Avenue intersection improvement project with Knife River Corporation and Mountain West, not and, but dash, for $2,465,654, and this is a standard bid form approved by legal, approved in the FY24 budget.
So move.
One moment, please. We do need to make a correction. This will be included in the rollover, the first amendment to roll it over from FY23 to FY24. So
Thank you, Daniel. I've forgotten, we've got one other one
we've
that
got
is a
one, the
rollover.
water tank one, have
The water
similar-
tank too, so we'll
That's right,
clarify.
Mayor, I may pull my motion so Randy can motion on this one.
Go ahead, Darrell.
So move for that roundabout, okay.
I'll be voting no.
Is there a second? It hasn't moved forward.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Everfield.
This for a roundabout?
Roundabouts.
I'm going to vote no.
For a four-way stop.
Oh, okay. Then I'll vote yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 7.4 is an action item. This is approval for the following proposed streetscape improvements within the Nampa Downtown Master Design Phase 1 project. This is diagonal parking. And Daniel, I would like you to come forward and show this to us. With additional island and 4 trees per side of the street per block, parallel parking with planter options between the bulbouts. Daniel, thank you for walking us through this.
Okay. There we go. So Mayor and Council, the NDC has funded some preliminary design work in preparation for actual projects in the downtown area for streetscape improvements and utility improvements. As part of that design, our consultant, Joe Barton with Paragon, has we came across things within the existing streetscape plan that didn't quite fit the way we thought they ought to. And so we've gone through a process with Joe and then with the BID, NDC, and DNCA, too many anachronisms, to look at what the actual physical improvements should look like on the ground for the parking, the tree islands, and that. And so what's before you tonight is a request to adopt the recommended layouts that NDC, BID, and DNCA have recommended. We will then come back with economic development, and we will do an update to the streetscape plan to incorporate these into the actual streetscape plan. So what we have would be in the 2 alternatives that we're looking at are the angled parking areas and then the parallel parking areas. So on the angled parking areas, we would go from having a 1 median island in the center of the block that has a tree to you would have trees at the corners, and then 2 islands mid-block, so splitting it in thirds with a tree in each of those. And so as we went to the NDC, BID, and DNCA, that is the option that they recommended for the angled parking. And then for the paralleled parking, that we looked at, and they recommended the layout before you there, which would maintain the existing bulb outs at the intersections, not add additional trees between, or not at the intersection, at the alleys and the intersections, not add additional trees through there, as that would eliminate parking in those areas. And so it's just a request from the engineering department to approve these designs that would then be incorporated into an updated streetscape plan to go forward.
I have a quick question, and I should have asked this before, but I'm not seeing what the current plan, what it is currently, and so this is what it looks like today.
So this is what it is proposed to look like today.
But what is our current plan? I guess the question rolling around in my mind, is this going to require significant change and investment and tear out of what we have currently, or is this an adaptation to what we have currently?
So currently you can see right here, there's a tree at the half block area. So there would be removal of that, and then the installation of these islands here. So it would be a net loss of 1 parking stall per block face. So not a significant change there. As well as then it all becomes updated from what is the existing. All of that would come out anyway to change to the current streetscape. We're not proposing a change to the portion between the parking and the buildings. That still remains the majority concrete with the 2-foot ribbon curb coming along the face there. So really, it's just a change in, the number of islands there and where the number of trees per block face there.
So we're increasing the number of trees.
There will be more trees downtown than there are currently. They will not, however, a lot of the issues we run into with the trees currently downtown is that they are up closer against the buildings or closer to the buildings, and so we have problems with that. These keep those trees out of the pedestrian area in the islands where they don't cause the tripping hazards and the other issues that we run into historically downtown with the tree wells.
And the impetus for this change was?
So the impetus for this change was as Joe was going through the design work to implement what was in the existing plan, there were some inconsistencies that as we looked at those, we said, okay, what was really meant here and how are we going to make this all come together as a cohesive implementation of the plan? And so we went through and with those other groups, looked at the design options and brought these forward as their recommendations.
Okay. And I have one more question. I apologize. As we look at downtown and expanding, and there's only probably one location, there could be more than one, to consider extending, like we did on First Street, where you have patio dining out. Was there any discussion around that, of what that would look like if we were to incorporate outside dining on the street or any sections of it?
So that First Street area is not part of Joe's scope. That's in the study that Keller is doing, and so they have made some recommendations there. Joe did do the design of what is there now that was done in front of Mesa and that. Right. And so that honestly would, as we update the actual streetscape plan, we would anticipate that what we see out there today in front of Mesa would be incorporated as that on sidewalk dining option.
On 13th Avenue, if they chose to, and what was Shadow Hills? I don't know, if ever they chose to do that, it could still be done here.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That is, yes.
Okay. Thank you for answering all my questions. Yes, Councilman Haverfield, I'm sorry I asked more questions.
That's okay. Danielle, I brought up a couple of questions when this came before the Napa Development Corporation. One is, I don't see where there are any identified handicap parking spaces, only accesses to the curb at the corners. So and I made the recommendation that potentially, like this image that you're showing on the upper section up there where there's a bench, that could be a handicap, across 13th, okay, right there. Where that bench is, that could easily be a handicap ramp, and that could be a defined space. What is the criteria for downtown street parking as far as to meet the ADA requirements?
So I'm going to have to defer to Joe. Do you remember that off the top of your head? Because I don't.
Well, I remember this discussion, yes. So we haven't laid out the handicapped stalls in numbers yet, but we recognize that there will be certainly a minimum number. I think there's already at least 2 on 13th. And those tree islands where the benches are shown, as you're stating, are the obvious locations where you could remove that bench or move that bench and get your handicap ramps in, so that the current stalls are closer to First, and those stalls actually you have to go out into the street and use the pedestrian crossing ramp at this point. So the intent where we have diagonal parking and can do that, then we could convert those tree island or a portion of those to be that handicap accessible.
So that was my question. It's not shown.
It is not shown yet.
So if a person is in a wheelchair, or semi-challenged ambulatory, they have to get out of their vehicle, go down 13th a cross walk to get up onto the sidewalk at this point. So mid-block, you'd eliminate one parking space to be able to provide a handicap drive aisle adjacent on the passenger side to the actual parking space itself. And that's where I'm wondering, to be able to provide handicap accessibility on both sides of 13th, it almost seems like mid-block you'd need to provide at least one space on both sides of the road to be able to get people to flow up and down those sidewalks. And that's my concern, is just from an ADA compliance standard. If you've met it somewhere else and they've got to travel around buildings to get to maybe mid-block here, I'd just like to see that criteria, what's been defined or what you've come up with.
So, Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, I would say our request is really to look at, is this layout for the islands and the parking? We recognize that we still have work to do to identify the locations of the handicap stalls that we need to put in and how those will happen. That is something that will happen in those as the design moves forward. But we do need a approval of the direction that this is a layout that the city council wants to proceed with, so that we can continue that design work and identify those locations for the handicap parking and where those ped ramps will be located.
Councilman Haverfield.
Just as a follow-up, I think it was 9 years ago when I got on council, this came before the council, this discussion, the concept, the sketches. I don't know if you were running the show at that point or if it was Michael. We came up with just the single tree well or a tree island as far as mid-block instead of two, knowing that parking's at a premium. Now we're giving up two spaces and then potentially giving up two, or at least another, so it's three. So I guess it just comes back to, if you're looking for direction, the original direction was for one, having it a class 2 tree instead of a class 1 tree so that it could broaden. And then at each cross street, at first and whatever that would be, second to the other side here, we would have trees at those ends as well. So the main thing was to get the trees out of the sidewalks because of the buckling of the sidewalks, the accessibility, and then the trees being up against the buildings causing issues with signage. So that was the main thing that we were driving at. The other question I was going to ask you is, are we talking about pavers still, or are we looking at going back to the old stamped concrete?
The locations in red here would be pavers, not stamped concrete.
Okay. All right, because that was an issue too, discoloration over time.
Yep.
And then accessibility to the utility trenches that would be up next to the curbs. But again, at this point, I'm fine because I think this is still following that defined path that we gave 8 years ago, and gets the trees out of the sidewalks into those islands. The only thing, like I say now, is sensitivity to handicap accessibility.
And if these layouts are approved, we will certainly add that in as the design continues and show that in the update to the streetscape plan.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Daniel, really quickly, have you heard any feedback from any of these business owners about taking these spots out? Do they have any concerns about that?
So from a outreach standpoint, we reached out to the BID, we reached out to the DNCA and NDC for this. I don't recall that, have we done actual business owner contacts?
As the project was getting started, we went door to door to all the businesses, and it was more of a, hey, we're just starting this process. You're going to see surveyors. We didn't get into this level of detail on the design, but each of the business owners, we went door to door and at least, announced that the project was coming in the background of it.
Thank you. And then also, so we have parking on this street going this way, and then on the other street, we have it going the other way. So
2nd Street, 2nd and 3rd Street have parallel parking. and then all the remainder of the downtown streets have angled parking. So we're not looking to change the style of parking on any particular street. We just need the approval on this is how they will look for whichever type of street.
Is there room on Second Street to do the same, the angled?
If we were to do that, it would have to go back to a 2-lane roadway. So that would be the only way that we would be able to do that. And with the traffic volumes that Second and Third have, that angled parking backing into the street would likely not, just the volume of the traffic there would likely not be a safe situation with the amount of traffic that's there and then trying to back into a lane of travel.
That makes sense. I just think it's weird to have two different kinds, but I mean, if it's already like that, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't look like it flows very well.
Can I just make a comment? You know what, I really appreciate Councilman Haverfield's comments, and I know you've gone through a lot of work on this. But when it comes to the parallel parking on 13th Street, we're going to lose a spot on each side by adding a second bulb out. When, if I understood correctly, years ago, they decided to go with one bulb out because parking is a premium. We could go with one large area with your tree, with your handicap ramps on each side, accomplish 2 ADA parking spots with ramps up. It's going to be one bigger bulb out. But you've accomplished 2 ADA spots. Here, we don't have any ADA.
The ADA is just not shown on this.
But we're going to lose parking. So we're going to already lose one, and then we're going to lose another one, because there's no way that you can fit that in there without losing a space, right? You're going to have to.
We will have to have a
bigger
ramp
space.
One of them will be taken up by a ramp. Yes.
Right. So in reality, by having 2 bulb outs versus 1, you've reduced your parking. I would say
we're losing 1 stall per block face is all.
You're going to lose more than 1 when you add ADA.
Well, but we will lose the ones for handicap regardless. So this versus the single, we're down one stall.
Well, yeah.
On 13th, there is already a handicap stall on each side of 13th with the boarding area as well. So it's really 2 stalls on each side of 13th currently. So those would get incorporated back into whether they're mid-block at a bulb out or near the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
So those stalls are being used currently as handicap stalls.
I would hope that you would not put a handicapped by an intersection in a bulb out and require someone to go out towards the street and come in. Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I think to your point, though, why 2 instead of just 1 tree island?
And so the options that we presented to BID, DNCA, and NDC, we actually presented 3 options because what we read out of the streetscape plan was 5 trees per block face. 2 of those trees being at the intersection with 3 trees mid-block. That's what we read out of it.
Where did you read that at?
It's in the adopted plan.
The adopted plan from 8 years ago? Because I don't recall that at all. I recall 1 mid-block and then 2 at the ends, and then possibly 2 at both, so you'd have 1 on the diagonal. So there would still be just 1 mid-block. I don't see the reason to have 2 myself. So just back to your point, I think 1, specifically if it was a class 2, possibly class 2 tree versus a class 1, but even a class 1, the foliage would be out far enough that it would provide some shading and then visual disruption as far as on the buildings. So if we're going to lose 2 plus another for the handicap drive aisle, I think if we just go back to the one with just losing the additional space for a drive aisle would be a preference that I would voice at this point, instead of having 2 tree interrupts and then knowing you're going to lose a third.
Mayor, so Joe, one of the options presented was just the single island, correct?
So one of the options that was presented was a single island, but it still had 5 trees, 2 of them being in the sidewalk area, like some of the similar trees that are down there now, with the goal being to get those 2 out of the sidewalk area. That was really the goal.
Carl, you weren't on council then?
No, but I'm not recalling, but I guess, so who is so set on 5 trees?
Ultimately, that's the council's decision. That's what the plan called for.
Okay, man, I'm pretty blunt on things. Yeah, I totally agree. Let's just go 1. I'm on, as you're aware, I'm on NDC also. And I know no one on NDC wanted him in the sidewalk. So but I guess the challenge is whether we have to have 5 trees or not. And I guess don't think we need to have 5 trees. So.
Ultimately, that's the council's decision on what it looks like. This is the downtown groups. These were their recommendations.
Okay, so I'm not saying that the mayor or Randy or whatever. Maybe I'm misinterpreting, but I'm also in favor of just having one in the middle there. And if we can get a handicap and a ramp right there, I think that totally makes sense also.
So
Mayor
maybe
Pling.
yes. Go
Were
ahead.
you going to say something?
No, I'll pause.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the last time we had something go down in the downtown district, the DNCA and the BID supported the new plan that they had for downtown, and none of the businesses knew what was going on. So have you contacted each business recently and have shown them this diagram or this proposal? And also, have you had meetings with them, often given the opportunity to show what you have, or just stuck with the DNCA and the NDC and the BID? Because last I heard, the BID is pretty slim.
So we did not go to each business owner and show this plan and ask for their comments. We went to the boards that represent them.
Okay. I think that's a real issue with me.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
So I'll speak to what the intent was 8 years ago with Bruce sitting next to me on this side. The idea was to get the trees out of the sidewalks, get them off the face of the building so that there wouldn't be the issues that that's causing. You're stuck on 5 trees. I never recall there being that definition provided. 1 island mid-block, 2 on each corner on the diagonals as you've shown them was the way that I understood the intent of the council's decision that evening. With the pavers as far as on the, instead of the stamped concrete, which was turning pink. So that was what I remember from 8 years ago. If that makes any difference or not to the council, the current council is making this decision. But back then, I don't recall it being, we have to have 5 trees. That was never the intent. So I would support just 1 tree island mid-block, adding the ADA access on either, on both, 1 on each side at that location, so that we have a mid-block ramp for someone in a wheelchair to be able to get out and be protected to get up onto that surface, and then be able to go either direction from the mid-block instead of coming off of the end clear crossed and having to go that path. So that would be my preference.
So I'd like to make a recommendation, and that is that we don't make a decision tonight. I think that based on Councilman Rodriguez's comment, you know what, right now we have a BID that is not really, a BID board that is not in place. And I think it's important that we take a few minutes and make sure that we have circulated to the actual business owners, because I think that could come back to bite us. If the council is making a decision that possibly doesn't have full representation when we're thinking it does. I think we need to connect with the business owners downtown. And then when we do come back, let's sort out the 5 tree piece and let's figure that out. I think what I'm hearing is there is consensus that we get the trees out of the sidewalk area. But then the best utilization of the space and maximizing that, and then ensuring that we have, to approve a plan, you need to actually see the ADA in the plan. what the actual plan, because what we would be asked to do tonight is approve a plan that we really haven't seen the full plan, because it isn't reflecting any ADA in it. So when you come back, let's look at how the ADA is going to lay out. And I know that you went to the others, but here, this council hasn't seen the other two plans. We're just seeing one. And I know that you said the others have all adopted it, but if the final decision is resting here, this body, I think, out of respect, needs to be able to see the actual plans that were done and not just be presented with one plan. So I think we need to come back. Thank you so much for your work. It's really appreciated, and I know you've worked at this, and so appreciate your skill set. But let's go back and just make sure that we're good with our businesses. Let's come back with showing, I would like to see all three plans, and then see the ADA spaces in there too. And then let's, I don't think we have anybody here from economic development, but we need to work with them to get them to ensure that we've gotten the contact with the building owners and those that are going to be living with the decision. So we'll have you come back. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for your work.
Mayor, do you need a motion to that effect?
I don't know that we do we, Todd? We're just not acting on this particular item, and we're asking it to come back at another time. Okay, 7.5. This is an action item, and this is to authorize the Public Works Director to offer the property owners up to $873,825 to acquire right-of-way needed for construction of the Northside Boulevard and Cherry Lane roundabout. It is approved in the FY24 budget.
That's a hard no for me. Just so you know.
Yeah. So move, and it is a partnership too, so that folks are aware that we're not, the city's not paying for all of that.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
This is just to approve right-of-way acquisition, correct? Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
7.6 is an action item. This is to authorize increased expenditures for RailPro services at the wastewater treatment plant of $1.4 million to pay for additional mandated requirements by Union Pacific Railroad. And we all go, oh, good grief. This is ridiculous. Well, I'll just say it. It's ridiculous.
It is.
But
Can no one, our Congress people or no one help us with this? I mean, they got that much power?
I mean, they're not budgeting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally.
Mayor, Councilor, we can certainly try.
I mean, I realize we can't keep delaying and whenever but my gracious, I mean, somebody's got to have some common sense. And they're just gouging. I take it we're not the only municipality they're gouging, and this must be just a.
Yeah, Councilman, we've worked with RailPros for the last 10 years. I've probably done 6 projects with them, and it's going up on every project. We did the 11th Avenue North project, and I think we had 5 crossings back then, and it was a couple $100,000.
So what are these guards doing while they're standing for 24/7 hours? Are they just looking at their phones, or they have video games, or what?
I mean, so I do have a brief, just a few slides, just because you have to make a decision, the council does, but you'll kind of see, to answer your question, Councilor, there is a lot going on out on the UPR site. It's a big pipe, and I have some exhibits to show.
Well, I'm talking about these guys that are just standing there just for, supposedly because no one else can provide this type of service.
They are a sole source provider for inspection services with UPRR, so they're the only ones that we can use.
They've just been trained so well. Okay, thanks.
Well, we had an estimate of $250,000. It was based on, I thought, good research. I would have said it would have been a good number too at the time. So with the overtime, with the additional people they required, they put a surcharge for us being in Idaho, and then their hours of requiring people on. It's gone from $250,000, and we're up to $1.4 million. We haven't spent that, and we haven't spent the we're nudging up on the $250,000, but we're coming to you and just telling you beforehand. Our inspector or project manager have kind of done the math based on how many more hours we have to be out there. So, we're working diligently with them. We've talked to them. We're trying to reduce costs. But it's going to be more expensive than $250,000.
And whatever it is, so move it. We have these funds in reserve in case we need them. Let's do everything else we possibly can to change this.
Mayor? Oh,
Okay,
you need
there
a-
is a motion.
You need a second.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned overtime. What's driving their overtime?
Around 25.
So the microtunneling, and that requires to work 7 days a week. So when we're doing that, they're forcing that to be a 7-day-a-week project, which increased the overtime, which we didn't know up front. They're also asking for additional flaggers on site, so there's different manpower especially when.
Because of the
microtunneling.
tunneling.
Because of the microtunneling.
Was-
And by the way,
That wasn't an anticipated cost, obviously, with the design-build approach that we chose.
No, in fact, they knew that. I will say the hole and the construction is a substantial impact. I mean, this is the pipe being laid next. This is actual construction pics, and that's the 48-inch HDP line. And you see the rail to the left in both of those pictures. So we're running 3/4 of the line, a mile of it, 3/4 of a mile in the right-of-way. But that crossing and where we're doing the bore pits that's the start of one of the bore pits. They're gonna be 40 feet deep, and they're putting in columns to surround that, and they're permanently encasing those. I mean, those are concrete columns. So there's substantial work going on, but again, the cost is just exorbitant, so.
Are we just talking about one bore?
It's one of those on either side of the railroad tracks, and then they'll drop them.
So how long
boring
is the
machine.
duration on that work? As far as to get that crossing? How many days?
Councilman, months.
Really?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
And that's,
but several months.
and they need overtime for those months? Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question, Jeff. Is there any kind of a bonding capacity that could get us around using Rail Pros?
Can definitely talk to them about that. We have not discussed it. They're difficult to get a hold of. If you remember, it took us 1.5 years to get that easement from UPRR, and just the communication was extremely difficult with the railroad. Their intent of Rail Pros is for them to come in and help us with our communication with UPRR. They're supposed to be a bridge between the city and UP, but I can definitely bring that up.
There's this question, I know sometimes if the bonding capacity of a organization, they don't necessarily have it, but as a city, we might be able to accommodate that and get away with less.
I will look into that.
Can't use firefighters or anything like that.
Prisoners?
They require us to use their people, which
Did
is.
you say prisoners?
Yeah.
You can put them to
Okay,
work.
so there is a motion on the table and a second. Is there any further discussion?
If we don't approve these funds, and you go back and say, council just said they don't have the money, then what? Can they come in for a
Councilwoman Jengula,
smaller,
Mayor, Councilwoman,
less
they would
bid?
stop work, which they've already done on one occasion, and then that construction that's going on right now would be in jeopardy of extending the contract time, which would cost us.
A lot. Yes, there isn't a good option.
So we have a motion on it in a
we-
second, right?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or
I'll
questions?
just make one quick comment.
Okay.
Everything you guys have been doing out there has been fantastic, and Jacobs has been great. I trust your judgment on this, and I know that you've done your due diligence to try to save us what we can. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Roll call.
Rodriguez.
No.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, item 7.7 is an action item. This is to authorize the Public Works Director to proceed with wastewater project group F. This is the Progressive Design Build Alternates Package in the amount of $8,195,828. No funding increase is requested from the original estimate. It's bringing the total contract amount to $179,722,623. Legal on the wastewater project Group F is Mark Hilty. This has been approved by Mark Hilty and in the '24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Angula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
7.8 is an action item to authorize the Senior Public Works Director to proceed with a competitive selection process for the engineering services for the wastewater treatment plant Headworks Facility, Group G, using the first choice roster for the sanitary sewer wastewater plant. I can't talk yet. Okay, it's approved by City Attorney Joe Borton and in the '24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Yes.
So the Headworks, is this the additional Headworks that we're talking about needs to be accomplished at some point, and it's like a $40 million project? Is this that Headworks project?
Mayor, Councilman, correct. This is the selection of the consultants that would start that process. Now, we have an off-ramp. When we get into it, we could have the design before we get into the CMGC, but
Okay.
it's certainly the kickoff to the full project.
Okay, so it's for that project, but it's only for the initial aspects of it. It's not an award of a project that you're
It's
asking.
it's the authorization for us to move forward with selecting a consultant, an engineering consultant, that will then design the project and help guide us through the CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor process.
Mayor, as a follow-up then, so the funding for that project, have we identified where the funding source is?
I have a few slides. I know we've been.
Please show them.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I can answer your question.
Okay.
So this is just a little background. You guys know the struggles we have with our Headworks. We have H2S gas out there, which is an issue for our work environment. It's undersized and it's inefficient, and the parts are expensive right now. So this is one of the screw pumps right there. We are having a hard time even locating these now. The corrosion at the site and the structural integrity is a problem. The H2S, which the gas, that line that you're pointing to right there, you'll see the blue peaks are when we go over the thresholds for the minimum exposure levels. So we definitely have problems right now. We've mitigated this with testing equipment, opening the doors, a number of mitigation strategies that we're working on right now and using. So we looked at, and we've been talking to the DRC, and I want to thank Councilman Haverfield, Councilman Brunner. They've gone through a number of meetings on this. The mayor's been at those meetings, and we've looked at options. We came up with $38 million to $41 million for the estimate based on we've toured, we've got recent data from Headworks that have constructed regionally, and we feel like that's kind of where we're at in a range. And this is how we intend to pay for it over 3 years from FY24 through FY26. What we've done is it's within the rate increases that we proposed under the entire project starting in 2019. So we did our last 16.75% rate increase this year. We have one more 8.75% next year. And we're not asking for a rate increase for the Headworks. We're fitting it in. We're cutting other capital projects over those 3 years to fit this one in because it's the most important capital project that we have. We also backed off on some of the operations costs. Some of that will need to be going up as the new plant gets built, and there's going to be operational expenses as that comes online. So we are pursuing a general CMGC, which is a construction manager general contractor form of delivery. We've talked about that with the DRC, and I spoke to Councilman Reynolds too, and we got input from him. So part of this conversation tonight is it's really kicking off this process, funding for this, and also the delivery method. And delivery method that we've chose is the CMGC.
So how did you decide that, though?
Okay, so we presented it a couple times at the DRC. I sought counsel from that group. We probably talked to many consultants in the area. And based on that, and this is some of the decision-making that we went on, it was a high level of city control through the design. It also has good support. The consultant contractor is separate from the CMGC contract. So we'll have a consultant working for us and with the CMGC contractor.
Mayor, is that Brown and Caldwell that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it. Maybe I didn't mention. It's in the write-up. So we would desire to select the consultants off our first choice roster. The first choice roster has 4 consultants on it. One of those is Brown and Caldwell. They are assisting us through the CMGC process, so they're not going to put in an application for the.
So this is CMGC, but it doesn't have a guaranteed maximum price?
Can I defer that question?
Sure.
Does it have a gap? Eventually. Thank you.
So what will that value be?
Well, the only estimate we have right now is what we've done our research on comparable.
That's the 38 to 41
38 through
million.
41 million, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question then after he's done.
Thank you, I do too, so.
Another thing, if you look at the project schedule, this was the fastest that we could deliver the project was the CMGC. And that made a difference because of the health and safety issues we had out there. That was a definite part of the decision.
So well, when you say that, because I know we have, health and safety is extremely important, right? You don't compromise on that. However, we have done our due diligence, we've had the testing out there. My understanding is we have mitigated that and that we have a good plan. We do need to move forward on this, and I totally support it. However, I guess I'm concerned about our method, that we've chosen this method. We went with a different method on the last project, and it worked really, really well for us. And sometimes, sometimes you can't have it all, speed and cost. So are we sacrificing cost for speed? And or quality.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of people. I mean, the progressive design build has been a great delivery method for the city. I think everybody would say that. The size of the project made that a very viable option to us. I mean, not that we couldn't do that. When I spoke at our Public Works Directors Association meeting, and somebody said, yeah, 25 million or 40, up to 40 million, you could do a progressive design build. But they said most people in the room they said the CMGC is their preferred method, and at that size of project.
So back when we did the other project, it actually went before council. I mean, we approved the design method that we were going progressive design build. This time, I'm not seeing that we have the option to approve the method unless we're doing it right now. You're saying that's what we're doing.
It was,
Is that
I guess
correct?
it was my understanding, Mayor, that we had talked about that in the DRC and we kind of were ready to move forward.
It just didn't come before city council at all. So I guess that would be my concern, is that it's important that, and this is a lot of money. And last time we had a process with this, and my suggestion, I think we've talked about this, is that we have a small group. We reform, because the design review committee is no longer, I mean, they're done in their capacity, but that we reform a group for this, because we're going to be held accountable for the costs, right? And how we got there. And so I think it's important. We've done a really good job on this last one. I don't want to move something so fast that we can't, with clear conscience, say, we had the committee, we had the oversight, yes, we're aware of it, and yes, yeah. So tonight, when we move forward, is it that we're saying yes to this?
We are. So maybe we can come back and we can present in more detail. I put some slides in here on CMGC, expecting we were having that conversation tonight. If we feel like we need to come back with an actual decision item on the delivery method to council, certainly can do that.
Go ahead.
So back to the funding method, it looked like your funding was in 26 and 27. Is that correct? 25 and 26.
Yeah, 24 through 26.
Okay.
So you see the box, that's the funding.
So my question for legal is it appropriate, or I guess appropriations, that would be us making a decision that future council members are going to have to abide by?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Haverfield and Jeff, I assume we'd have to put in our contract a non-appropriation clause, right? If we're saying we're going to fund it in these future years, that does require an appropriation decision from the council each year.
How did we do that on our current project? Because it's massively big. We bonded for it. Is that the difference?
You can always vote and bond.
Or can we, as a council, set aside dollars right now that we have set aside dollars for X for this project? Can we do that?
Madam Mayor, that's the other way. If you set aside dollars now in this fiscal year, then you're not incurring an obligation for future councils. You're saying I have the money now, and we're committing it now.
Okay.
It's a Doug question. Do we have the money now?
Over time, we have the money. We don't have all the cash right now for every aspect of it right now. Some of it's still funding coming later next year from DEQ for the existing loan that is, I'm speaking in terms of our total cash flow. In terms of the total cash flow, including the headworks, yeah, the money will be there as we continue next year's 8.75% increase and other projects. So we have the cash as over time, but I don't have the cash in pocket right now.
Can I respond to that question? So if you look at the top line, the fund balance is what we really watched closely, because if something was to go wrong out the treatment plant, we would need contingency dollars. And so the SRF loan requires that we carry $8 million. We put some more above that because things are expensive. You see how expensive just the headworks are. So, I mean, if we had to come up with all this money in one fiscal year, it would, I mean, we've talked about that, it'd be difficult. So we can come back with, you're asking some good questions on that side of things, on multiple year funding, because we're going to have to go before the council next year for the second and then third and 26.
As it's built right now, and according to the cash flows coming in, the money will be there in time to commit for the obligations, but the cash isn't in place right now.
So approaching this with a general obligation bond, I think I heard you say is an option, but is that a viable option after we've already asked the taxpayers to fund rate increases up into next year, so they know that that's what their decision was? This is above and beyond the decision that they authorized, correct?
Councilman, so as part of that agreement, as part of the bond vote, is that when this program was done and those rates were made, that we would have $8 to $10 million per year in capital program from here on, so that we could have smaller incremental rate increases and not these large, difficult, painful rate increases. So that is where we're coming up with those dollars for the headworks. We're saying we're going to offset some of those annual future capital, and we're going to put it towards the most important capital, which is the headworks. I don't know if does that answer your question or not?
Kind of. And I've been on the committee. I mean, so I've asked these questions before. I'm not sure if I've already gotten the same answer before or not, but I keep asking the question just to keep you honest.
Sir, can you ask it one more time then?
No. At this point, the main thing is transparency to the community. That's what's most important to me. So that we're saying to them that what we're doing, obviously, headworks, I mean, that should have been a part of this project from the beginning. That's just a personal statement I'm going to make. We should have known that this was going to be the case, and it should have been handled right up front in the design, progressive design side. But now we're dealing with it at the end of the project as an added cost of almost $40 million. So where the dollars come from, it's no longer a part of the SRF loan. It can't be defined in the progressive design build approach because we've already used up everything that we're going to have. So now we're looking at how can we remedy this issue in a way that makes the most sense to the community, because they're the ones that are going to be funding it out of their tax dollars. So that's where I'm at.
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, it was if you look at the facility plan, there was $5 million towards headworks, but it was a rehab, a refurbish.
Okay.
So they did discuss it in that. I think it's not part of the SRF loan. It's part of our rate increase structure, but I think it is our ongoing capital improvements beyond the rate structure. We paid for the lion's share of this Group F. We're finishing that up, and now we're starting this ongoing program. And this they couldn't put this in originally, and maybe that was the amount, that's where the threshold was of costs that they had, but now moving forward is something we definitely need, so.
Mayor, the timing issue, I guess, is what you were trying to come up with. If we have time to look at this differently, or if we...
Well, I think it's the transparency of, I haven't seen the new group that you've put together that's actually discussing this, because we had a really good process first time around, and it served us well. I know that we're wanting to hurry, but there's always a concern when we hurry. I know there's a risk in hurrying. There could be a benefit in not hurrying. I think, and Tom, I think we've talked a little bit about the team that's going to be put together to provide the oversight of this. And I think we need to actually go through the formality and say, this is the new team. I would recommend that we have our existing council members on that same team that have been on the team prior to this, because there's a lot of institutional knowledge along with, if Carol's up to it and Larry Olmstead's up to it, and maybe whomever else we add that really knows what they're talking about, that asks good questions, that comes back and says, we've really looked at this. This is a lot of money. That we've looked at it, this is our recommendation, this is the why behind the recommendation. Because the design review committee, they were so good, but I don't know that we've officially said this is the new project and this is our recommendation. So I feel like we were a little bit rushed. I could be wrong, and I apologize, but that.
Mayor, just a question. You've said several times, Jeff, that this is a high priority cap. So what's the trade-off? What is the plan to give up as far as where are we not spending dollars on some other capital projects?
So if you look at, Councilman, the capital line item in FY24 to FY26 and the operations line item in those years, we don't have the breakdown of it. We pulled money out of each one of those. Okay. So moving forward, and you'll see, I mean, we have a lot in capital, and that's because in FY27 and FY28, we don't have specific identified projects. We're developing those. The plan is underway. So it's out of operations and the capital line items.
Those are where you're pulling from.
Yeah.
So the question that you've started with is, if you look at 27 and 28, there is no dollars allocated for capital. Right. So it's a little bit of a shift forward. The rate structure is sufficient to cover that cost, but if something else comes up, where does that money come from? Or, as Jeff's indicated, they've looked at the plan and said, hey, we budgeted $8 million for capital out of the gate as soon as the plan opens. And that's true, they did. You probably won't need it in the first year, maybe not in the second year, but probably after that, you probably will start needing to reinvest in that capital to keep things fresh. But that's your thing. You shifted capital.
Well, it's in there, though. 27 has 15 million, 28 has 17 million in capital.
Right.
But I have a question. Does our current rate plan that we committed to our public, right, the 16.75, or is it 8.7, whichever it is, to these years, and then it drops down to 8. Are we still on target with that rate plan to accomplish this?
Yes.
We won't have to increase rates anymore. We're right where we said we'd
Yes.
be. Okay, because that's really important. Okay.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Yes.
So Jeff, I have two questions for you. So on the operations of 24, revenue total was 87 million, almost 88 million. And then you go to 25, and it shows 50. Why is such a difference there?
Yeah, if you look at the group, Councilman, the Group F line item, that 56 million, that's because we still have Group F under construction, and we're finishing off that SRF loan.
It's loan proceeds.
Is it? Okay. Okay, but my suggestion, or my way I look at this, I'm going, well, we could have continued with 87 million and brought that over, making that 50, 87, just continue with the same line, the same revenue, same input.
No, you'd have to keep increasing the borrowing to do that.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's the difference there.
Yeah. Mayor, can I make a recommendation? I mean, I'm hearing good questions. We weren't wanting to rush this, so I'd like to back up and set up the group. We can answer the questions that were presented, which was good. We're not in that big a hurry. It's a big decision. It is $40 million. So I'll take your questions, and we'll get the group together, and then we'll select the method, and we'll answer the financial questions and come back.
Okay, with that,
I'll
Shar,
pull my
thank you. You're going to pull your motion?
Hold my second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sharon, thank you both. Jeff, you do such excellent work. I really appreciate it. And this is a great project. I just want to make sure that we've done such a good job first round. I want to make sure we nail it on this one also.
Mayor, one other question, though. You bring the group together, that's fine. But if we're talking about progressive design, for this 40 million, which you said you've talked to other
CGMC, actually.
CMG have done this before, so that they've recommended that route. So who are you bringing together again, I guess, how do you reevaluate this if you feel like you've already talked to the folks that seem to be experienced in this, and this is what they're recommending to you?
Well, we had talked about, so the DRC, the Design Review Committee, finished up at phase 2 preliminary design. They, out of the goodness of their own heart, we worked a little farther and we made some decisions. So the new one, we're calling it the Wastewater Task Force, and the name may change. And that's going to be a similar group made up of council, citizen representatives, staff, and other people that we had on the DRC too, industry. And we can just walk through what delivery method we're going to use. We can go through again with the funding and identify some of the questions. And
so I take it though, Brown and Caldwell or someone of that sort would be doing the research and evaluations and bring 1, 2, 3 recommendations and what they feel like is the top recommendation. That's what's kind of been the practice in the past.
Yeah, they're gonna help guide us through the process. They've already. They will not be turning in a RFP for the actual design of the project.
Okay.
And I think that's what's important is that this group is formed and we give the same consideration as we did last time. If you're going to work off of your first choice roster, then you've got a group looking at that with you. We're not just saying this is what we're doing. You've got your group that's guiding. So I just think that's wise, and to clearly define who's on your group, get it in place. You may come back and just quickly say, yep, CGMC, it's the way to go, no questions. That's awesome if you do, but just getting them back together and doing the process.
Will do.
Any other comments, thoughts? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is going to move forward to a future meeting. Okay, so 7.9. This is to authorize the Senior Director of Public Works to sign the applications, funding agreements, and other documents as required by the Department of Environmental Quality to apply for the wastewater planning and overflow grant projects, and to authorize the formal resolution of said authorization, and to authorize the city match in the amount of $214,500. This was reviewed by Todd Lakey and approved in the FY24 budget.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Changula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Mayor, my only concern is the fact that you're not on that as one of the signatures in that description. So I don't know if that should affect my vote or not. Didn't say in the description.
It doesn't say in this description, so.
But it is a part, okay, so I'll vote yes then, as long as your name is there.
Okay, so it isn't in the motion, though. So as far as noted here, so does that need to be so noted? Okay, and Mayor, we need to add that to your motion in second.
Amend the motion as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So item 710 is an action item, and it is to authorize the bid and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the elevated water tank, well 8, and the booster station replacement project with JC Constructors. in the amount of $8,234,000. So this is another one that was, I think this is a rollover project.
There is a portion, Mayor, that is budgeted in FY24 in ARPA, and then there will be rollover in the water fund, as well as the remaining budget for the project will come in the FY25 budget because the project is such a long duration for construction.
Awesome.
Good question, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Dan, sorry. I just want to make sure that is this funding partially coming from the ratepayers?
Yes. So we have multiple funding sources here. There will be some impact fees, there will be ratepayer money, and there will be ARPA money.
Do you know what the percentage would be?
So the majority of the funding, so it's 2/3 of it is eligible for impact fees. However, the impact fee on the water, we will spend ratepayer money up front in the construction, and then impact fees as they are collected will pay that portion back that they are eligible for.
Yeah.
And then the ARPA is,
3 million.
yeah. So, but the majority, 2/3 of it is eligible for impact fees. It's just we don't collect water impact fees that quickly. And so it will be a capital outlay from the water fund paid back by impact fees as we collect them.
Okay, so the majority is coming from another source besides the taxpayers. Okay.
Ultimately, yes.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
So Daniel, it's pretty specialized construction. They don't put these things up very often. What criteria was used to determine their capability of being able to put this together? What bonding capacity do they have to provide?
So the bonding capacity is just our standard bonding capacity for the amount of the bid project.
Okay.
As far as qualifications, they were required to submit documentation of having done these tanks in the recent past and their completion and that. There is a subcontractor, DKN Tanks, that will actually be doing the pre-stressing or the post-tensioning wrap of the structure. And they are the ones that did our tank to the south of town as well.
So is this a steel tank or is that a post-tension concrete?
Post-tension concrete.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's pretty specialized, like you say. So if they've got a sub that has done something like this, where did they do a tank of this nature?
So our tank at the south at the Highway District, Nampa Highway on 12th, they actually were the subcontractor that did the post-tensioning there.
That's an elevated tank though, isn't it?
No.
It is? It's
The
ground?
one at Ruth Lane is.
Oh, Ruth Lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they've done other tanks in the valley as well as outside the valley,
Okay.
JC as well as DKN.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So there is not a motion on the table yet.
No moved. Second.
And Mayor, and you did a great job of highlighting this at your city state address. So, I mean, we need to move on this.
It'll be fun to get it done, won't it? How exciting.
And we just need to know what's going to go on it. Is it like your portrait or?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It's good to be.
City logo, it's designed, yeah, yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Pingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
711 is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding with Pioneer Irrigation District for the irrigation wing well project. This is the standard MOU agreement approved by legal.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Brunner.
Yes.
Pingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
And now 712 is the action item to authorize the mayor to sign the task order for the attached scope of work for JUB engineers for the irrigation well project in the amount of $58,900. Time and materials not to exceed, approved in the FY24 budget.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
713 is an action item, and this is the Alcohol Review Committee recommending an amendment to Nampa City Code and requesting the first reading of ordinance amending Title V, Chapter 12, Section 16 of the Nampa City Code, adding an option of a consent to cater form, providing extended consent for up to 1 year from a school or church located within 300 feet of a venue applying for an alcohol beverage catering permit. This was reviewed in consultation with Joe Borton, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved, Mayor.
Oh, can I?
This is one she has to read, but
Oh, I'm
thank you.
sorry.
Thank you.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title V, Chapter 12, Section 16 of the Nampa City Code, adding an option of a consent to cater form providing extended consent for up to 1 year from a school or church located within 300 feet of a venue applying for an alcohol beverage catering permit, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
And now,
Okay, now I'll say so moved, Mayor.
under suspension
Under
of rules.
suspen- I forgot to say that, yes.
That's good. Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded
can add
to
it.
pass under suspension of rules. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Brunner.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So we did 714 earlier, so we'll move to 715. This is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding joint exercise of powers with Idaho Transportation Department for the Karcher Wetland Project. And Jeff, do you want to show us that project? I know it's late, but I tell you what, we should be proud of this project. Absolutely great work. Sorry, we don't have to. It's just such a great project.
Why don't we
So moved.
We'll come back.
Let's move on.
Go, yeah,
Okay.
16 and come back. Yeah.
So 716 is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign a task order for the attached scope of work with Keller and Associates for the Madison Road Sewer Extension Project Design Services in the amount of $169,635, time and material not to exceed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and
Do we need Michael or anyone to come back? And who's you know what's
Are you,
driving this one?
are you two lost?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Jeff, I'm sorry to catch you off guard because you never know what we're going to do. Sorry. Okay, so this is a way cool project.
Mayor and council, I'll tell you a little bit about the project. So this location is on Karcher Road and right behind Winco. And it is 26 acres, and we've walked this site several times now, and you'd be surprised how beautiful a site there is in the middle of the city and next to I-84. So Indian Creek flows through there. Indian Creek, if you go upstream from there, there's really hundreds of direct discharges. That means it'll go off a bridge deck, for instance, into a hole into the water. So all that oil and the grease and everything, all those pollutants go in there. So we got a grant, a $2.7 million grant to do a pilot project here that would basically be a regional treatment facility for water. And that would be benefiting this water, ultimately goes into the Columbia River Basin and impacts fish. And so this project is the pilot project. We want to use that area for a constructed wetland and natural filtration process. And again, it's something that if we had to treat every one of those discharge points along Indian Creek, it would be like sand grease traps all the way along there. So it's a natural way we can filter the water. It's something that it's gaining traction. Tom originally had thought of this just a strategic move, but now IDEQ is very interested in it. A lot of different players. We got the grant for that much for this project. So yeah, I'll stand for any questions. Did I miss anything, Tom? Yeah, we'll need some more grants.
So Mayor, are ducks and geese going to like this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought, yeah.
It's beautiful in there.
We're gonna be able to
One
go
other
on.
thing is eventually we can wrap our pathway that can go all the way up to Caldwell can go through there, and we can really have like a beautiful area in there too that can be used for pedestrian traffic too.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Jeff, can you put a bench out there with Darrell's name on it?
Oh yeah, I'm noting
My
that.
portrait. Give him a golf cart.
You know, this is exciting because this is ground that otherwise is just not utilized. And I just appreciate the innovative mindset. Tom, thank you. Jeff, thank you. Daniel, you've probably been involved in this too. And you guys, this is great work. And to see our city actually get this done and take a piece of unutilized ground or underutilized ground and accomplish this with it is absolutely wonderful. So I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah, Mayor, what's the projected timeline?
Councilman, we selected the consultant. They'll start the design for the concept or the pilot project, and I believe we have to spend those dollars in 2 years. Okay.
You got some time.
Yeah, 2028 is when the money, and we have the dollars are here and ready to go, so we can launch the project.
It's great.
Good job.
Okay, so I'd stand for a motion to approve this.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Pingula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
I think this is our last new business item tonight, and this is 717. This is an action item, and actually, the mayor's office, I'm requesting the opportunity to hire a new personnel, have an allocation for that to oversee the operations at the building located at 315 Stampede Drive, formerly known as the Hispanic Cultural Center. This, eventually, this position, it will fund itself through revenues, but initially, we have to have the authorization to fund so that we can begin moving forward with that facility now that our legal process is totally
Well,
done.
Mayor, I'm excited. Oh, excuse me.
Keep going, you're fine.
I'm excited about this. Thank you for allowing one of your employees to work the Hispanic Cultural Center and now to give up one of your positions. This is something that is really beneficial for us. So I'll proudly make that motion to approve.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Proudly, I said.
Oh, I thought you said probably too.
No, proudly. Sorry, proudly.
Proudly. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and I would like Doug real quickly to talk about the funding source where we're going to get this money, just so it's clear, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you, Mayor. If you recall last year in the budget process, we set aside, this is kind of a roundabout way, but we set aside funding in the capital section of about $936,000 of budgetary money to be defined of how we would use that later. In the capital fund, we have two major sources of revenue. The franchise fees, which come in every year, and they're doing very well, and then we have an amount of funds we transfer from General Gov into capital to supplement that. So we'll take that amount from General Gov that's recurring and comes every year and use that to fund this position for the first year, and then as revenues come in, we can shift that back and take less from that.
Yeah, so that's the funding source.
Madam
Okay,
Mayor?
yes.
I just have a couple comments on this. I'm not comfortable with hiring anybody over there at this point because I haven't heard what our plan is to fix it. I think we're about $1.5 million in the hole for repairs. I don't know what the plan is. I just feel like we're in the dark on that. And if we don't have the dollars to fix it going forward, I'm concerned about hiring somebody for a building that needs a lot of help. And then also like just where the revenues are going forward for lease rates or how that looks, Doug. I don't want to get saddled with a burden for the taxpayers of feeding this thing every month. That's just my comment.
Well, I think it's a very good comment. I will say, in working with Brian Foster, he has been working on the HVAC. He's had some good reports back with some of the concerns that we've had. There is a longer-term need, but right now he feels confident that we can do some repairs to the HVAC system and keep it operating so it isn't an immediate repair. I think part of the purpose in doing this hire is having someone running the day-to-day so that we can, and to help us identify our move forward plan. So this doesn't mean that we're just in an ongoing direction. We need to have the help to help us get to that direction and to put that plan together. And so right now, it's very difficult to manage the day-to-day. The only other option would be to close the doors, and I don't think our community would appreciate it if we closed the doors. But we need the help in managing these events and the day-to-day stuff to get us to that decision. So this is not, I'm trying to think how I'm saying this, but I want to say this is not putting us into a path that is a long-term decision. This position will help us get there, because I agree with you, we need to have the discussion about the long-term utilization of that facility. So this is somebody to help us as we get there, because we've got a lot of events going on every day. Just the managing of the events and keeping the doors going and keeping it operating is a big task.
There have been some revenues coming in now in the current year. We've had about, up through 9/30, about 12,500 in revenues, rent revenues and other event revenues. So there are monies coming in. We haven't had nearly the amount of expenses going out, but there are more expenses than revenues at the moment, but that's just as they identify the initial needs.
So follow up, do you have a time frame in mind?
It's going to take us several months. I think it's not going to happen overnight. It would be nice for it to happen overnight, but we've got some meetings that need to take place in the coming weeks with organizations and just discussion about the programming, and those need to take place. So, and I will say, as those discussions take place with this authorization, I'm more than happy to say, whoops, we've had some discussions and we're not going to need to. The other thing I would like to do is see if we can get some shared funding for this position to where it's not 100% the city. But it all depends on the direction we go and exactly how we manage it. So there is an element of unknown right now. So I appreciate your comments, though.
Mayor, Dale, right now, we're in a holding pattern. Nothing's getting done. We need to start making money. We need to start bringing in revenue. And we need a person that will control that and get us going off our feet and moving forward. And that will, down the road, establish everything that you want us to do in that facility, and we're right there with you.
And Councilman Haverfield?
Yeah, I think Dale and I have both voiced our critical concerns about the use of the facility at this point. So a managed approach to its use, I think I'd be okay with that. But I think it needs to be a managed approach so that we know that as repairs are taking place and opening up other portions of the building, maybe a limited use of the building at this time would be a proper thing to consider. I would just ask, is this person going to be able to make those determinations as far as the practical use of the building from a safety standpoint? Is there someone from the city that's going to be involved with that decision to help them move in a proper path so that we're not opening ourselves up to a liability?
Right. This position is not the one that will be doing that. The person looking at the facility will be Brian Foster with Facilities.
Okay.
And so it will be the City of Nampa through our Facilities Department that will be overseeing the facilities and looking at exactly what you're talking about. It's very difficult to hire a skill set that is managing events, bookings, contracts, all of that piece of it. It's a totally different skill set to really have the understanding on the facility side. The city, we have the employees for that, and Brian has been working on it, and he's already done some good work, so we just need to provide that update.
So is he reporting that back to your office, or what's he doing?
And we did ask him, and he had a good report with what he has done already. Yep.
Okay. So will that be information that's provided with us, someone, this council, others, to make sure that, I mean, I think I heard even said at church this weekend, healthy a healthy relationship is one that has accountability. So I think
Absolutely.
that's what we're asking for, is just a trust but verify approach, so that we make sure that we're looking over your shoulder to give you cover as well, so that it's just not falling back on your office with critical thoughts that some people might be sharing, so.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, and I agree with you.
Can I ask one more
Yes,
question?
you may.
Doug, so financially, is this going to put us in a hole, or can we afford to do this for a period of time?
Well, for hiring, yeah, the money is there to fund this, and it's not going to exceed our budgetary authority. It's just moving it from one bucket to the other to cover it. We have, the money's not the problem. In my mind, the problem is what you've mentioned tonight. How do you determine the long-term nature of what you do here? But I think as a council, you guys all worked to get this lifted up out of the problem it was in a couple of years ago. Sonny, I probably have, my opinion, for what it's worth, you have to do something to at least get it ready to evaluate it. And I think this is the step forward to that.
And follow up to that, I would be for this if we could say there was a 3 to 6 month timeline that we set, that we come back and review to see where the progress is and make definite steps for that center to go forward.
Yeah, that's a great financial review practice, is come back periodically and look at it. But that's,
We've had a few meetings, and Councilman Rodriguez and Councilwoman Jangula have set in some meetings representing the council as we've talked about this. We will continue to, and then be coming back before council with some recommendations. We just have some more meetings that are taking place in the coming weeks. It's just taken a while. So we're more than happy to.
Take advantage of the skill set you have on this council, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, we will.
Especially when it comes to hydronic systems and clean air. It's just
And
important
you know
that,
what, I'll have Brian reach out to you guys, because you did the walkthrough with him. And so since then, he has done some things, so I'll have him reach out to you.
we walked through
That
with
way you know.
Rick. I don't think Brian was a part of that walkthrough, was he?
Maybe he wasn't, okay, I didn't know, but I'll have Brian reach out to you.
Okay.
So what is the will of the council on this one?
There's a motion on
Oh, there was a motion, okay. Did we quantify the dollar amount? I don't know that we did. So I do want to go back to that, because in hiring this person right now, we're thinking it's going to be in that $65,000 range, maybe 70. If you add benefits, it's going to be around 100 by the time you do that. And you know what, we won't, because this authorization is there, just know that I'm not going to go out and just do it quickly. We've got some more meetings to have, but I feel like we need to have someone. We need the help. So anyway, I just want to be clear on what
So,
that would be.
Mayor, is there going to be another position, an assistant? Who's going to, I mean, there's one thing, for scheduling and so on. I mean,
We
it doesn't take a
currently
lot
have-
of skill set to write down on a calendar, but, I mean, I realize you got to interview and make sure you're prioritizing who's going to actually utilize and when, but.
So right now, we have some part-time people that are working, that we're having to hire to watch over
Right,
events.
I understand.
And so we will continue to have that, because one person isn't going to be able to be at every event,
Right,
be
yeah.
there day and night. So we'll still have the part-time people managing events. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think you did. I'm just, and just one little side note here. What's a poetry slam night? Is that something that you've gone to, Dale?
No, that document has nothing to do with this topic. A gentleman was here and he wanted to share his ideas, and so that's.
I think the revenue is going to be taken care of with that.
They do have senior services, though.
A senior.
I did not mean to confuse the issues up here. Okay. We'll have to talk about that being in the record. Yeah. Okay, so there was a motion on the table, but I just want to make sure our motion is clear. You're good?
And yes.
And yes,
But,
okay.
Mayor, I heard though Councilman Reynolds say he wanted some type of a timeline or whatever. So is that to be included in the motion, that we're going to be reevaluating?
I don't think we need that in the motion. We're going to do it anyway. I mean, really.
Well, this is to allocate
Hire, I
to
understand,
hire,
hire.
which is is a little different, but we will absolutely be coming back to council, because council has to make a decision on what we do as we move forward.
But normally, that's a 3-month period as far as a trial period, not 6. But
what?
that's, that's up to you in a sense. Yeah, in a hiring process, but I would leave that to your discretion, Mayor.
So you evaluate the position and the hire in 90 days
Yeah,
after the hire is made?
at least that's what I've been taught as far as in my business
Here, you're on probation for a year.
here.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about the mayor's discretion for hiring. I'm
No.
just concerned about the financial viability of it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Jinkula,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
We are almost done. And we are ready for unfinished business. And 9.1 on the agenda is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance amending Title 611 to Title 6, Chapter 1 of the Nampa City Code, amending disorderly conduct ordinance. And this was approved by legal, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title 6-1-1 to Title 6, Chapter 1 of the Nampa City Code, amending the disorderly conduct ordinance, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Who wants?
Madam Mayor, I move this pass under suspension of rules.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jinkula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
9.2 is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance of the zoning map amendment from community business to residential professional zoning districts. Two only residential professional zoning district for 3 parcels addressed at 310 West Iowa, 315 West Georgia, and 223 West Georgia Avenue for a total of 4.79 acres for Jim Prep of Nampa. And it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, to provide an RP Residential Professional Zone designation for a portion of certain lands commonly known as 310 West Iowa Avenue, 315 West Georgia Avenue, and 223 West Georgia Avenue, Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho. County parcels R32122, R3212101, and R32121, comprising approximately 4.79 acres, more or less, determining that said zoning is in the best interest of the citizens and consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, rezoning property from BC Community Business and RP Residential Professional to only RP Residential Professional, providing for recordation, instructing the city engineer to designate said property as RP Residential Professional on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement entered into between the applicant and the City of Nampa, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Ingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
9.3 is an action item. It's the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to single-family residential and a potential development agreement at 002306, 2414, and 2418 East Locust Lane. This is for Patrick Connor, Providence Properties, representing Sawtooth Land Acquisition, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that certain lands commonly known as 002306, 2414, 2418 East Locust Lane, parcel numbers R29116, R29112, R2912101, R29117, R29119, comprising approximately 25.06 acres, more or less, lake contiguous to the limits of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, State of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the City of Nampa and be zoned RS6 Single Family Residential Zoning District, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be a part of the City of Nampa, determining that said said annexation and zoning are in the best interest of the public and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city. Directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Nampa and to designate said property as RS6 single-family residential on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for recordation, subject to the terms of the certain development agreement between the applicant and the city, providing for severability, providing an effective date, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and directing the city clerk to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Make a motion to pass ordinance as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Jangula?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
There is no need for an executive session, so that concludes our meeting. Thank you for those of you that have sat through the meeting. Appreciate it. And I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. We didn't get done early. I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? No.